I call to order the regular meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors at California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. It's Tuesday, July 12th. It's 9:30, and we're here at the boardroom. We also have virtual opportunity for the people who want to Zoom in. And I do declare that we have a quorum, and I'll ask Director Blackwell to lead us in the pledge.
All right, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That little sound just reminded me to put my cell phone on silent. Okay. If there's media here, raise your hand. I don't see any. Okay, directors, look over the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda if you have no. Director Blackwell?
I have a change. I believe we're going to add 13A, investment change, treasuries, and addendum to the
13A.
agenda. 13A. And I am asking at this time to remove 11B and send it to the governing document committee.
Would you read 11B, please?
11B is approve the review of the United Subleasing and Transfer of Trust documents approved in June 2022, and such review is hereby ratified. The document is unusual. It's fine, except it says directors, and the only one to sign is the president.
Okay, Director Blackwell, where would you like to move that to?
Oh, I'd like to send that to Governing Documents Committee so that we can reconsider to see if we have to do that anymore and what form we should use.
Okay, so
Well, it doesn't need it, it's already
Director
there and it was
Blackwell.
like that.
Director Blackwell, I'll conduct the meeting, please. Director Blackwell has moved to accept the addendum 13A and also to remove from the agenda today 11B. Do we
Mr.
have any
President,
other corrections on the agenda?
yes, Mr. President, may I ask why 12B should be removed because it has been like that and is a subleasing for every month? Siobhan, do you have any idea why this must be removed?
I'm not the one requesting the removal. It's been a standard item for more than a year.
Yes, it has been like that, and why you
11B,
wanted to
the
remove?
signature with Anthony's name.
Yes,
Well, it says on it, I have never seen this form before, and it
What?
says on it, on a monthly basis, a subcommittee of the board consisting
Yes.
of United Secretary and at least one other director shall randomly check applications. And actually, it's a group of 3 people. The secretary has not been on it because she's a realtor. And this form only has the room for 1 signature on it. And I would ask that we send it to governing documents just to be reviewed.
yes, it has been always like this, but I mentioned that one a few months ago, and you actually said it is okay. If you watch some of the video from the board meeting, I mentioned that one, and you said Anthony sign it and is okay. If it is not okay
Okay, so
now,
what we're doing, we're talking about the agenda for today.
Yes.
And Director Blackwell has moved to acknowledge the addendum for 13A. And Director Blackwell has also recommended the removal of, on the consent calendar, 11B to be sent back to governing docs. Director Ascari disagrees.
Yes, and I think government doc can look at that for next month and create a new one, but this is okay for this month because it has been like,
Right,
as I remember, I am 2 years here.
right,
It was
that's
like
it, that's it.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Okay.
So it's going back to governing documents to readjust the form if necessary.
Yes, from next
So,
month.
do I have a movement to accept the agenda as amended, and that is to accept the addendum for 13A? Director Ross?
Yeah, I accept it as amended.
You what?
I accept it as amended.
Okay, we have a second?
Is that-
Seconded by Nita. Okay, so the agenda has been amended to include the addendum 13A and to, on the consent calendar, to remove 11B and send it back to governing docs. And we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, seconded. So there it is. You got it.
May I ask, what is 13A?
You don't have the floor, Director Torn. You're going to
May
follow
I ask-
protocol today. You're going to follow protocol
Yeah.
today. This is not open for
May I
discussion.
ask a question? May I ask a question?
You had the floor, Director Torn.
What is 13A? I thought we were talking about 12B. Are we moving 12B to 13A?
No,
No.
What is
13A
that?
is an addendum. Would the secretary like to read addendum A, or Director Blackwell?
okay, it's a regular open, it's a discretionary investment change to treasuries. July initial notification must postpone 28 days for member review and comments to comply with Civil Code 43-6.
Okay. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I got it.
Thank you,
Is there any
Director
change
Turner.
with 12B?
That's,
Is there any change with 12B?
what are you talking about?
It would be 13A.
13A, under new business.
Okay. My question is there any change with 12B?
Not at this time.
I thought I heard-
Not at this time.
I thought I
Let
heard
me
some
remind you,
information about-
the agenda has been voted on and accepted. Now,
Well,
this
no,
is
it
getting
hasn't.
into a dilatory
Okay.
discussion. The agenda has been approved, it's been seconded.
I
and
haven't
approved.
voted
Thank
yet.
you very much, Director Torn. All right, now, item number 5. We're going to look over the minutes and ask for an approval. If there's any deletions, corrections, or omissions, please speak up. 5A is the minutes from March 30th, special open session budget workshop. Do we have any deletions, omissions, or corrections for that item? Hearing none, seeing none, those minutes are accepted. Item B, June 2nd, special open session budget landscape review. Are there any omissions, corrections? Seeing none, those minutes are accepted. Item 5C, June 6th, special open session budget maintenance review. Are there any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, those minutes are approved. Item number D, June 14th, regular open session. Are any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, they're accepted. June 17th, special open session strategic planning. Are there any corrections?
Yes, I
omissions?
do have one.
Director Ascari.
On that day, Director Pat English was not here and is, in the record says it was there. Must be corrected that.
Are there any other corrections or omissions for that? Can we approve those, Director Lee?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't she there first half and then
No, for the strategic, she wasn't.
she was? Oh, okay.
The board meeting, she was there and then left.
Any other discussion on that item? So we can amend that meeting and who the
Yes.
attendees were. Is that correct?
Okay, as correction.
All right, seeing no objections, those minutes are accepted as amended. June 23rd, agenda prep meeting. Are there any corrections, omissions, or deletions to those? Seeing none, those minutes are accepted. Thank you. Report of the chair. Really don't have much to say, except to the people at home now. Your directors are wrestling with the budget coming up, so let us know how you feel, and please pay attention to what we're doing, because we're acting on your behalf. Thank you. Open forum, 3 minutes for speakers for things that are not on the agenda. Michaela?
Yes, the first speaker is Jerry Miller, Manor 2030C.
Ms. Miller, you have the floor.
The globe, when you look at the globe, 3/4 of the globe is about resales. I passed around some pictures I've taken. That's only like a small sample of my pictures. But when you stand back and you look at people coming in to look at units and purchase a unit, this is what they see. You know, a lot of people on the board in their former lives might have been a lawyer, financial planner, and that's all great. But I feel that they need to have some property management background. If you look at the Homeowners Association, professional property management companies, which I've been looking at online, they're gorgeous, they're clean, they take into consideration the homeowners, the aesthetics. They all mention aesthetics, whereas our aesthetics have really gone downhill. I also feel our administration is way too top-heavy. Landscape says they have 4 arborists on staff. I have an email over 2 years old asking to someone to look at my dead trees and have never heard a word. Also, during COVID, the Breeze had an email for Catherine Laster, so I emailed her. Never heard a word. I had a neighbor who called her twice, and it was imperative that she talk to her because Jeff Parker, secretary, said she was the agent of record. She called, never heard, called again, never heard back. She went up to the administration where the security guard said she was working from home. She's working from home. She's collecting a paycheck, yet I didn't get a service from her. My neighbor didn't get a service from her. And next thing I hear is she got a promotion. Where I used to work at an advertising agency, when we had a deadline, my boss would say, "What can I do? What can I do to help you guys?" You go in here to the room across the way, and there's people sitting at empty cubicles because it's not their job. So if 3 people come in for a certain item, they have to wait. Whereas if they were cross-trained, they wouldn't have to wait. Also, when we elect senators and congresspeople, they represent us, but we all vote for the president. And I think we all need to be able to have town halls and vote for the CEO. We're all members. We all are part of the
Community.
mutual, and I think we all should have that opportunity because it affects us all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Michaela?
Yes, next up is Jeannie Braden.
Hello, I'm here about my refrigerator. It was unable to be repaired. I went through all the steps. They couldn't repair it, so they put me on an order for a new one. I double make sure that it was the upgraded one that was there. It was on order. And then we had COVID hit. And then we had all these back delays. I have had to wait. I'm now trying to get it redone, and they want to start from scratch. And they told me I had to come to the board. they want to give me the little old thing. I said, that's not what was there. All the rules are on the YouTube video, which says United Mutual update September 3rd, 2021. And it'll show that you are to replace it with what was there. And I need to find out when can that be done. Thank you.
What was the manual number?
Can you give?
199 Unit B.
Okay, thank you.
What?
199B.
Thank you.
Next up is Chris Collins, Manor 3306Q.
Good morning. I'm here with an update from the Foundation of Laguna Woods on behalf of residents who are experiencing temporary financial crisis. Volunteers are our backbone. Recently, it was National Volunteer Week. Volunteers are the backbone of the village, organizing clubs, activities, participating in theater and musical events, helping neighbors, enhancing religious observance, arranging sports activities and competitions, providing opportunities for political action, among many other activities. As a result, and in honor of the Foundation of Laguna Woods' 25th anniversary, President of the Foundation, Marcy Shinewell, took the opportunity to recognize the invaluable contributions of the Foundation Board of Directors, who are all volunteers. These volunteers and those before them made the 25th anniversary possible. Those volunteers handle tracking all donations, maintain detailed financial records, assist with preparation of state and federal reporting, review requests for and authorize final assistance, work with partner agencies and social services to meet resident needs, manage investments, fundraising, and community outreach. All of these essential tasks are performed by volunteers who are unpaid. They are all residents of Laguna Woods Village who tithe their prodigious time and talent to the mission of the foundation, which is neighbors helping neighbors. These volunteers come from varied backgrounds and with different strengths, but all of us share a common commitment to making the foundation motto, which is neighbors helping neighbors, a reality. It is the shared commitment that makes it possible for the foundation to utilize more than 95% of the funds raised to provide services to residents. So for more information about how the foundation achieves its motto of neighbors helping neighbors, please go to our website at thefoundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Miguel?
Next up is Maxine
Could you give a
McIntosh.
number to call? Foundation?
I don't have the number written down here, but it's on the website.
All right, let's go on. Miguel?
Maxine McIntosh, Manor 68C.
Good morning, neighbors. I have a question. All during COVID, I was really a good girl. I stayed home. I was practically isolated, except when I would take walks in the evenings and after dark when there weren't many people out. So I got behind in a lot of things. And I don't understand what happened to our Globe office. And to me, the Globe paper is so important. And it's so important for residents to be able to have easy access to the office if they need to talk with the editor or they need to talk with the reporter. And it's no longer here. I presume it has something to do with the money. I know that the Globe, of course, never belonged to our village. The Globe was is part of the register. And a lot of papers, coast to coast, are having financial difficulties as fewer and fewer people renew their subscriptions. I understand that. Here's the problem. We're always, usually the board is talking each year a few times about how to get more people involved, more people well informed about what is going on. So to make it hard to include the Globe really concerns me. The last time I heard a count on the Globe, and that was about 10 years ago, 60% of the community was subscribing to the Globe, and they didn't know how many people shared their paper. And I really want to say that I've looked and looked and looked, and the only place I found where you can buy a copy of the Globe after it comes out on Thursday is at Polly's Pies. They keep, bless their hearts, they keep a machine just for the Globe, but it's empty by afternoon. You can't count on it the next day. And Big Lots used to have a machine, but of course Big Lots is gone and the machine is gone with them. So I have these concerns about access to the Globe. I wish that we would give them free rent and let them come back and have an office here because of the service they provide. All the TV, you have your TV guide there that you can use. You have meeting times of all your clubs and church meetings. You have letters to the editor that keeps you informed about another group in the community. They have appropriate ads that somebody can probably use and at any time. They list the patio sales and the moving sales, and they list all the clubs taking trips that are inviting you to come with them because they want to fill the bus. All that information is in the Globe, plus the ongoing news, and they do a good job. And now, as you notice, nearly all our pictures are in color. That started during COVID. That's wonderful to see so many color articles. But I think that would be a good investment of money because they do communicate with the community and they give us some power to go in and ask questions and become better informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine. Michaela?
Last up is Louise Pompiro, Manor 718D.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am a 25-year resident. My oven is not working. I had a repairman come out and check it, but it couldn't be fixed. That cost me $99. So I went to the administration and told them. They told me it would take 3 to 6 months to replace it. They told me to go and buy one on my own, and they would allow me $1,000. Ovens cost more than that. I have a sick, handicapped husband. This is not right. What they are doing, they have never done anything for me. One of my neighbors told me she had her refrigerator and oven replaced after 17 years. I've been there 25 years. Nothing has been done for me. Thanksgiving and Christmas will be here, and I have no oven. Is this any way to treat seniors?
Thank you, Louise.
That is all for open forum. I do want to let you know that we do have 2 speakers who want to speak during unfinished business.
We'll do unfinished business, okay. Okay, so thank you for that. Listening to our residents is very important. That's what we're here for. Now, no, let's go, she can do it on CEO report. Number 8, I don't see her hand up, please. Let me run the meeting. She did? Siobhan?
If I may address the 2 ladies who spoke about appliances, Ms. Braden and Ms. Pampero, our maintenance and construction department will be reaching out to you today. So please expect to hear from them today. And also, if you'd like an update on the Globe, I can have Eileen Paulin give an update on that situation if you'd like, but it's your preference.
Thank you. Thank you, Siobhan. All right, let's go
And
on.
Mr. President, regarding to the 2030C Mary
You don't have the
full-time-
floor.
Can I, Mr. President?
Director Escar, you have the floor.
Thank you. Regarding to the one that's for the town hall, I should say that we had a strategic plan on June 17, and all directors accept that one. We already passed that one to the CO office by Catherine, and we are waiting for a time to have that one. And I am asking Shiban if you a little bit expedite that one because it's almost a month, and Catherine we already knows all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Escar. Let me start here with the board that's present under item number 9, the responses, 8 rather, responses to open forum. Director English, do you have anything about response to these questions?
No, I don't have any response except that we're not responsible for what the Globe puts in, and that would be up to the Globe to decide and not our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Director Nordani? No, nothing. Nothing. Director Blackwell?
Yes, as far as the Globe office, the Globe is run by the Orange County Register, and I believe a few years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, they closed the office. I may be wrong. They closed the office because they didn't want to staff it. And so they do you make all your contacts through email or for calling the Orange County Register. And so we now use that office for disaster preparedness. Yes, it was convenient to have it there, and you could get a copy of the Globe in case you missed it. But I thought it was their idea to not hold the office anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Director Casey?
Yes, I remember going to the Globe office when I wanted to find out something about running for...
Director Casey, can you turn on your mic? Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, so I remember going to that office. It was very helpful. I would like to hear from Eileen. Maybe she could tell us a little bit more about how we could, work with the Globe more, or, it would be nice to have even a free copy up here that people could come and look at, I don't know well, they have that at the library probably, right? So anyway, and just for Jerry, I just think it's terrible when you're not getting response. I mean, you just need to really get on them, It's terrible.
It is terrible and sad.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Director Casey, are you?
Yep, that's it.
Director Cash-Aquicar?
Well, I would like to appreciate what Chris Collins is doing for us, for the foundation, to spend her time and energy for the village. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cash-Aquicar. Director Lee, it's good to see you back.
Yes, I have a comment to make in regards to the replacement of the appliance. I have another client, 845P. She had a ceramic top stove that was not working, one of the burner, and she was told that it was ordered in February and haven't heard anything as of yet. And I don't know whether they're waiting or, so she wanted to know. So I would appreciate if you contact them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Director Ross?
Yeah, I feel for the people, the members who, have contributed all these years and are just waiting for one appliance to be replaced. And so what I'd like to do is ask, I know Shaban has their information, it's going to look into it, but I'd like to find out just a feedback loop. Once these folks get their resolutions for the refrigerator and the stove, could you please let the board know that it's been done?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. Now we'll go to the home people. Director Bastani? You have to unmute yourself, Director Bastani.
Yeah, I don't have any comment at this time.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Director Torn?
Yes, thank you for the chance to speak for the residents. I think we are talking about individual cases here, but we are constantly hearing that these individual cases. We need to start looking at the root problem of these issues. That would be a management responsibility, and look for alternatives for improvement. One example for the appliances is there any alternative refrigerators that are available on the market that we can, or maybe from GE, that we can use as a replacement? I hope the management is thinking about that alternative and provide our residents the possibility of, without living without a refrigerator is almost impossible at this point. Okay. The second issue I heard about is the Globe. I thought we used to be able to buy Globe. Residents used to be able to buy Globe from the front desk. And also there's libraries available, like Director Casey has mentioned. why don't we allow them to stack up these newspapers from OC Register and get them to pick up there? If Big Lock can do it, Poly Pie can do it, why can't we do it either at front desk or in the front of the building, admin building, or at library? So there are alternatives. Probably we can negotiate with Globe to handle that. That will solve the problem. Those are the alternatives. That I would think would hopefully the management will help us figure out other alternatives that makes it convenient for the residents. That's called customer service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Torn. I personally have no comments, and thanks for the participation of the directors and answering our residents. Now, let's move on to item number 9. This is our representative appointed by the board to represent us at the VMS board. And today's report will be given by Cynthia Rupert. Cynthia, you have the floor.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President, United board members, and of course our neighbors. I am here from the Village Management Services Board to present the July 2022 update. Next slide, please. This morning, the presentation is going to focus on key initiatives that VMS is working on. I'll begin with the initiatives to enhance our efficiencies within the community. Community services, as far as resales go, we have been working on a new process of allowing e-filing of resales and other documents directly with the county clerk recorder. And we're re-engineering the workflow process to make it more efficient and to cut down time. The United escrow receipt to close time is improving. In January, we were running about 33 days to close, but now we've dropped it by 10 days, and we're at 23 days at the end of May. Next slide, please. A key initiative from VMS always is to continue to identify cost savings. One area we have been looking at are employee benefits, and let's start with employee health insurance. As we explore options to provide quality employee benefits in the most cost-effective manner we can find. Let's start with health plan funding strategies, such as level funding, minimum premiums, and captive ideas. Level funding has a definition for anyone that needs it. The employer pays a level or a flat premium to insurance providers on a monthly basis to cover basic administration, claims, and funding, and a stop-loss premium. A minimum premium is where an employer pays a minimum fixed amount of the plan's monthly claims, a portion of it, and then the insurance provider covers an excess claim above that determined amount. And last, captives, self-funded, where participants share in the outcome of a group's underwriting performance, including the profit and the investment income. May we have the next slide, please? Further, VMS initiatives to measure performance. The number of completed service orders through year-to-date through June. Let's look at 17,150 service orders completed. Last month, I believe it was 13,967. So we see an increase. In May, we had completed about 91% on average in 20 days. And now in June, at the end of June, you'll see we increased it to 94% completed in 20 days. So we have a 3% increase. The average completion day has dropped from 6 to 5. And we've exceeded our completion targets with 2 exceptions, paving and paint. As far as paving goes, the maintenance programs for the carport cleaning and crack filling is prioritized. And the paint, touch-up to paint tickets remains open until we can get members scheduled for the work to be completed. Next page, please. Slide, sorry. Okay, on our how to measure satisfaction. We had a work order satisfaction survey in June, and the results are holding steady in all categories. In June of 2022, we had 479 responses with an average rating of 4.54 stars. There were 2,242 responses, and of those responses, there was an average now through May of 4.56 stars. So we are showing a little bit of improvement as we go along, and we hope to increase this as we go further. Next slide, please. Further initiatives to identify satisfaction trends. We will follow up on negative comment scores with 2 stars or less. The trend we see are plumbers, they lack the right parts on the first visit. So there's always somebody coming back or parts being ordered and then coming back at some point. Action on the hands-on training of resident services. We need them trained by plumbers to recognize common toilet and other components so they can better triage the residents' telephone calls and get them in the hands of where they need to be. Next slide, please. Continuing with the other key efforts we've been working on, manner alterations, improvements are focusing on staff development, customer services, process reengineering constantly, and automation, and developing KPIs based on strategic plan, goals, and objectives. And that, I believe, next slide, please. Lastly, we're going to be hosting a bi-monthly client services meeting. It'll provide VMS board the opportunity to discuss these key topics with clients in a dedicated manner to find out what's really going on. And the next topic is going to be manner alterations, working with all corporations to control the insurance costs and website redesign that is currently underway. Slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. That concludes my presentation. I hope everyone got good information. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Director Ruppert. On the board here of directors, do we have any questions to be asked of Cynthia? I see none here. I see Director.
I have one.
Who? Okay, go ahead, Director Ascari.
Thank you. Cynthia, since you are a representative from United, is it possible that you ask how VMS can get a list of, especially like this lady comes and says 25 years didn't receive anything to changes. This kind of list and dated for refrigerator how many years or a stove how many years. These days is on, in the computer, they can put on the calendar and it's just pop up. It's not like handwriting in the old time. Is it possible that you ask VMS staff making a list and contact those people that over 17 years or 20 years didn't receive anything?
I will actually leave that to Siobhan because she's going to be handling the staff, but I will be glad to take that request to VMS for you. Thank you for that thought.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Siobhan.
I see no other hands here. Director Torn, you have the floor.
Yes, thanks, Director Rupert. Great report. You mentioned there several times the re-engineering, process flow. I have never seen any process flow except when I was on the an alteration side. So my question is, can VMS share the process flow with us so the resident will be informed and say, oh, it takes a lot of effort to do these things? And the new process and say, oh, that we made some improvements. We talk about re-engineering as if we have made the improvement, but we have no clue what are the improvements are. Is it possible to VMS to share with us? This question is basically for VMS, either board or management side. Thank you very much for help answering those questions.
You're very welcome.
Go ahead, Cynthia, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would like to reiterate that within this presentation, I have striven to provide some details. For example, the increase and you can see, even though you don't have a written design process flow, you can see where we're going. We're trying to enhance the efficiency, and it shows that the escrow, for example, is improving. We can show that we're working on cost savings. We can show that we are working to measure performance and that we're doing surveys and different items to follow through. And that's what the purpose of these reports are each month, is to bring you some of these details so that you have something to process and pass along. Thank you.
Yes, you mentioned that you are working on the improvements and the reducing the cost. But how much have we improved? How much have we reduced the cost? We never received that kind of report. We only see that you're talking, VMS talking about improvement. We never see any kind of improvement like reducing cost or cutting waste, that kind of thing. Can you share with us?
Cynthia?
Yes? Well, to be honest, I'm not here to give complete details of everything that's going on within VMS every month. That would take a lot longer than the 5 or 7 minutes I'm allotted. But this is a summary of some of the key features that we think would be important for you and keep you updated where we're focusing, what we're trying to do with cost savings, keep our employees happy, keep everything else here working as smoothly as it can with the number of boards and the number of members that we have here.
I'm not asking.
Thank you. Andre, that's enough.
Can we share with somewhere else?
That's enough.
Like on the website.
You talked 3 times now. That's enough. Let's move on.
But my answer, but there's no answer for my question.
Siobhan, you have the floor.
Thank you, President Liberatore, members of the board. I have 3 quick updates for you this morning, please. First of all, I wanted to remind everyone, as the president mentioned, this week is the business plan review meetings with the corporations on the version 2 of the proposed 2023 business plan. This is an opportunity for residents to hear where the proposed budget currently stands and to provide input. The GRF board will be meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, July 13th at 9:30 a.m. in the boardroom. The United Board will be meeting Friday, July 15th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. And the third board will be meeting Friday, July 15th at 9:30 a.m. in the boardroom. These meetings are also available on Zoom and via Granicus for viewing. The next step in the process will be the August business plan reviews that are televised, and those occur on Monday, August 8th, Wednesday, August 10th, and Friday, August 12th. We continue to publish the schedule, so you should be available to see those dates in detail. I also want to mention, kind of to follow up on Director Rupert's presentation this morning, VMS has been working diligently on improving manor alterations. The first thing I want to share today is that we're pleased to announce the launch of a new real-time manor alterations mutual consent log for those involved in the process. Residents and their contractors may access the mutual consent status update log by visiting the village website, lagunawoodsvillage.com, and then selecting residents, manor alterations, and clicking mutual consent application status. This is providing real-time statuses on all applications in the process. And again, it's available both to residents and their contractors, so the information is readily available to everyone. This process and use of technology is going to shorten the mutual consent processing times, as well as, again, providing customer service to our residents with this real-time information. And lastly, from the Recreation and Special Events Department, a reminder that the 2023 annual reservation lottery is underway. You can reserve your 2023 dates at village facilities for special and club events by picking up a lottery card in the recreation office or emailing a reservation request to recreation@vmsinc.org. This information must be completed by this Friday, July 15th, by 5 p.m. if you're interested in reserving for next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO Siobhan. Do we have any questions for CEO? And Director Torn.
Yes, thank Siobhan, you have made a great presentation, and all the informations are, you mentioned about a lot of improvements, new website and real-time status, and but the only way to measure improvement is the time reduction. Okay, how much time for the resident that less time it takes for them to apply for a permit with the MSC, with the Alteration Act, those departments. So, is there any measurement of time reduction from the past to the current with a new website? I don't want to spend time on the website and then our time is not reducing at all. There's got to be some kind of return on the time, money we spend on the website and those systems. How do we know that there is an improvement, that the time has reduced? We've heard appliance, just a resident complained it took them several months to get a response. And as soon as you hear it, you jump on that and you promise it will be done tomorrow or today. And I'm wondering why can't they do that? The department do that, make that happen next day, rather than you have to jump in. I don't think you are. You should be getting into that kind of a process flow at all. The process flow needs to be changed. So my question at this point are two questions. Well, what's the improvement? How do we know there's improvement? Second, why is the GM involved in speed up, expedite the process? Okay. Now, why didn't the staff expedite it themselves? Thank you very much.
To answer your questions,
Thank you, Director Torn. Siobhan, you have
in
the
answer
floor.
to your questions, which are excellent questions, we are implementing systematic tracking and manner alteration so we can see the time lapse for every segment of the process, and we will be reporting those results. That's absolutely the way we need to report our performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Let's move on to number 11, and let us remind ourselves that the consent calendar involves all matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by one motion on the board. Now, let's remember also that we've already, when we accepted the agenda, we already took 11B off.
Not this month. It's for next month. We didn't
11B.
change that.
Well, we've taken off the consent calendar for today.
Oh, we did? You said for next month. We decided for next month.
You sent it to governing documents, am I correct?
Send it to government.
Yeah?
Yeah, so it's off the
Okay.
consent calendar. All right, let's go to, we have there on 11A, recommended from the Landscape Committee, a recommendation to Diane Casey. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, so that's on the consent calendar. So we reviewed some requests for tree removal.
Oh, he just wants you to go and read 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, just
read them all?
No, just read the one
Microphone,
on landscape. Read the one on landscape.
Microphone, please. We can hear.
You're out of order.
All right.
You're out of order.
Okay, there were three, so read the three recommendations? Right. Okay, so recommendation to deny tree removal request at 54C Cali Aragon. 1, Canary Island pine tree. 2, recommendation to deny tree removal request at 100A via Estrada. 4, Canary Island pine trees. 1 silk oak tree. And approve removal of 1 Monterey pine tree. Number 3, recommendation to deny tree removal at 220D Avenida Mallorca, 1 Canary Island pine tree.
Thank you, Director Casey. As you know, these come from recommendations from Diane Casey's committee. So can we have a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended?
I move to approve I move to approve the consent calendar.
Seconded by Director Kashak Ricard. Do we have any, can we take a vote on that, or do we want to debate it? All right, we have, all in favor of accepting consent calendar as read by Director Casey?
Just ask if there is any objection.
Director English has her hand raised.
Director English?
No, I'm voting
She's voting.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any other problems? Any people, any board members against accepting the consent calendar? I see none. So the consent calendar as amended and voted by the directors is approved. Okay, unfinished business, item 12. We have here, consistent with the statutory obligations, Director Ascar, do you want to read that?
Yes. Under Civil Code 5501, a subcommittee of the in-board consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member reviewed the United Laguna Woods Mutual preliminary financials for the months of February, March, April, and May 2022. Such review is hereby ratified. And I announce that I ratified that one. And Director Ross reviewed that one too.
So are you making a motion to accept this?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept this one as a ratify.
All right, the motion has been forwarded by Director Ascari and seconded by Pat English. All in favor? Can I see your hands? Any objections? I don't see, so it's approved. Thank you. Let's go on to item B. Interboard anti-harassment and anti-abuse and intimidation policy and formation of the joint hearing body, an oral discussion. I asked the directors to look at that on your paperwork, there 12B. And Siobhan?
I'm prepared to provide an oral update on the status of this.
Yes.
If you will remember, last month, the board introduced the policy and proposed joint hearing board, and this is an interboard policy. It was also introduced in June by Third Mutual and GRF. However, at each board meeting, directors raised really good questions about the policy and the joint hearing board. So we went back to the working group, which consists of the presidents of each of the mutuals and GRF, as well as the VMS chair, and considered all the comments that were made by this board and the two other boards. And the decision was made to try to incorporate many of those comments into the proposed policy. So we will bring it back to the board for reintroduction in August. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds good. We have any comments on this?
No, but I think we have resident comments on this, do we? Michaela?
Any the directors first? Any directors?
No, not from my understanding,
All right,
though.
Michaela, do we have some
I just have a
comments?
question. We already sent to you some comments. Should we send it again, or you have it?
We have the comments that were made at the board meeting.
Yes, and, okay, so you have it. You don't need to resend.
So, Michaela, do we have anything else on this?
No.
Okay. Now, what do we need to do with this?
Yes, comment. May I have a comment?
Director Torn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Many people have complained about this hearing procedure, and the real problem is the procedure, not necessarily combined meeting. Okay, we frequently solve the problem just because there is a problem, proposal. We just jump on and say, yes, let's change it. We need to change the procedures. And within this proposal, there are many procedures that, like, for example, this talk about in investigation report. It never mentioned the investigation report should be distributed to the accused and the accuser and let them verify if the investigation report is valid. Okay, so, and it only mentioned that the investigation report is provided to the joint meeting. So the accused people has no clue what is the investigation report result is. That's not fair to the accused people, residents. So there needs to be changes, making sure everybody's right is taken care of, the accused and the accuser. Okay, that is the biggest procedure issue that we have with all these hearings. And we know that for a fact that sometimes evidence was shared after the hearing, the accused person leave the party. And also sometimes it happens when these information presented to the board are manipulated. So there needs to be some way to justify that, making sure everything is done right. We cannot, the procedure is wrong. Something we need to correct, not the meeting method. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Torn. Director Bastani.
Yes, this policy of anti-harassment, abuse, and intimidation is a one-sided policy. It only considers harassment against the employees. But there are other harassments, such as harassing the directors. For example, directors have right to all, absolute rights to all records. If they ask for records and BMS doesn't give these records, then that also should be considered as a harassment. So I believe this harassment policy has to be redefined to make it fair to both parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Director Blackwell.
Thank you. I believe this paper-clipped collection of emails and letters is on this issue. These people want the harassment policy passed.
Yes, that is correct. So that is my error. There are two speakers for this item.
All right, let's, you done? Let me, who else wants to talk? Any directors? All right, directors are done. Michaela?
Shirley Weinberg, Manor 884A.
Hi, I'm a 25-year resident, and I just wanted to tell you that there is a need to establish a harassment board. I have a direct neighbor who has been harassing me for a couple of years now, and it's gotten to the point where I have passed around a letter that I sent to compliance about her harassing me now with her car, almost knocking me down. And then she has now done that same thing. I sent a diagram of another neighbor that she accosted 10:30 at night. So it's gotten to be very harrowing now. And we never know when she'll start something. And especially when she hears that we are getting together or talking about doing something, she then acts again. So there have been many instances, and I know you don't want to hear them all, but exactly what we need now. I think it's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Karen. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. I don't know if it's Czech. Manor 881Q.
Hi, first I want to thank everybody for all the work you do. It's really appreciated. Secondly, I really am in favor of a board for harassment. Our neighborhood has been dealing with an aggressive person for 9 years. It's all of these: harassment, abuse, intimidation across all relations. And there obviously are no guidelines or penalties for first offense or second offense. This is, there have been 2 board meetings regarding this person, and nothing has changed. It's only gotten worse. I made a packet for all of you with just some of the information that you need to see that it is absolutely imperative that we have a harassment board. Compliance can do nothing. They have done nothing except a board meeting. And then what? And we are still suffering as a neighborhood. So I implore you to read that packet that I passed out and let's get a harassment board going. It's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Michaela?
That is all.
Okay, that is all. All right, so let's try Director English first. Director English.
It is my opinion, and that's opinion, that the state covers all these harassment issues, and that we cannot be making new laws on it, but enforcing the ones we've already got. I think Maggie would probably know a little bit more about this than I do. Anyway, I don't see how we can start this type of thing separately. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Director Ascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. To all of the residents, including these two people that they are coming, thank you so much. But please understand, we had harassment. What we are working on that is a joint. So it doesn't mean that we don't have it and VMS should not support or listen to your letters or complaint. This is different. So I hope you understand this is not the first time that we are, but we are trying to bring a joint with the United and Third and GRF. That's different. So it doesn't, I wanted you, all of you, thank you for sending information. Definitely, I read it and follow up with that. Compliance must act, and they are acting. If they are not, what we have it in the past, they didn't do for some. Thank you for coming here, and we have to put a little bit information, maybe more to them to make an action. It doesn't mean that we don't have it. We have it, and we respect. A neighbor must respect other neighbors, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Casey.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a better policy because we have some things in place, like the resident advisory services, which Nada and Pearlie have run, and I've sat in on that. And I know there's a point where we can't help them, because they have, one neighbor has reported something to compliance. Compliance reacted and hurt the other neighbor with their situation. And then it just keeps going on, just where there was a neighbor that didn't want somebody to have any furniture on her private section, and she was forced to take it away. She was forced to take away a barbecue. She was forced not to be able to sit out on her area, even to pull out a chair and talk to her husband, because this neighbor was so aggressive. So we do need something to elevate, a complaint. To get it to work out between the two neighbors, maybe fine them both or something, I don't know. But thank you.
Anybody else? Michaela, I can't see the directors at home. Any of them have their hands up?
It looks like Director Torn does.
Director Torn, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Apparently, if you look at all the complaints, the procedure is not solving the problem, not the organization issue, not just because we have three groups together, HOAs together, we will solve the problem. That's not the case. The procedure is wrong. And if you analyze the procedure, it seems like, based on my experience, that compliance just heavy-handed up and says no here, no there, okay? Instead of negotiating and helping out solve the problem, this probably should be a social worker issue, social work issue, okay? And somebody come out and listen to both sides and come up with a compromise and resolve the issue. Compliance just say, this doesn't follow the rule here, so you will be punished. And that doesn't follow the rule, you'll be punished. So that caused retaliation, all right? We need to rethink our compliance department. Is it really just enforce the law and no alternative, or is there any other alternative that can help out? Also, there is a big issue here. Compliance, we never receive any problem, issues from compliance that says, hey, I cannot solve this kind of problem. Please help me out. Okay, this problem keeps on coming back. We need to VMS to provide us the information and say, these problems keeps on coming back. We need to rethink it. And here is our recommendation. We have to follow the rules. We have to follow the laws. But under the current rule, under the current law, we cannot do it effectively. It's causing more problems than it's worth. I've experienced a lot of these situations like this. A mediation is the right way to go. There are alternatives. Orange County HR, human relationships, they have the mediation team. It just takes $100 or even $50 to solve the problem with them. So there are alternatives. Management need to think of alternatives and how to solve these problems rather than just say, here's the law and we execute it and then that's all. Nothing, we wipe our hands, we are clean. Okay. And then when the problem comes back up, they do the same thing over and over again. This will not solve the problem. We need to think of alternatives and more of mediations, social worker side, help out solve the problem rather than just say, we apply the same law over and over again, and the problem just getting worse and worse. People think the retaliation, okay, that's not the right way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Torn. No other hands. Director Blackwell.
I've been on these committees and I've heard things and I've written things. Neighbor-to-neighbor disputes are extremely difficult. They exacerbate. There are TV shows that show them all the time, and they show how bad they get, and how one thing leads to another, to another, to another. United is involved because these are our residents who are living in our village and damaging maybe other people's property, which is in our village, and our security needs to protect if we can. And it's threatening our residents, which security needs to protect if we can. So it may be that this also, I mean, any harassment policy generally has the same steps, but maybe there is a different way. Mediation is fine, but mediation will not touch the village. Mediation can't order the village to be something, or United to do anything, or for a fine for United to collect, although United has a harassment policy. But I think maybe we should review it with, I don't know, if you like, we can put it on governing documents and look up the policies and see if there is some additional action. That's what we were looking for perhaps in the new board, was an additional action of some kind that is not an outside one, which can either, say, we're going to arrest you if you do that again, or we're going to do this, and it waits for the police. If there is some other way that we can provide some kind of service, maybe like a mediation or something, that will help us to help the people who are here, because it just exacerbates, it goes on, and each aggressor feels stronger and stronger, and they either pay the fine or they don't, and then that gets worse or it doesn't. And time elapses because you can't be calling every day. So I think that we have some hot spots in United. And it does go on even when other people move in and out, they get caught up in the mess. And so I think maybe governing documents also will consider some way of doing this. That's what we were hoping for in this multi-board one. Maybe they could come up with some ideas that will help alleviate this situation that United has been unable to come up with before. So while Siobhan is looking into that and they're looking into that, and it may not be relevant to them, I believe that governing documents can
Thank you,
also
Director
look
Blackwell.
into that.
Thank you.
President Liberatore, there is one more speaker that would
Okay.
like to come up, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's Maxine McIntosh, Manor 68C.
During the heaviest part of the COVID recession in our normal lives, I did have several people who live in United contact me. Both of them were concerned about another resident problem, and they didn't know to whom they should speak or where they should go, and were just wanting some advice. One of them was having a problem upstairs, getting down anytime at all, without another neighbor's dog is viciously barking at her, which really disturbed her. And the other neighbor may have begun making up lies about other things that happened in the carport when this woman was upstairs, because she worked in her apartment, in her home, and she wasn't even outside. That was one. And the other one was the more vicious one. A friend of mine, originally from Persia, and after talking with her, we became friends. I loved hearing her adventures. But she had a neighbor who probably was an alcoholic. And so when she first invited the new neighbor over, she gave her some wine, and this went on for a few days. And then the neighbor began expecting it. And she would very kindly say, you know, I really need to get on with the things I have to do today, and brought out anger in this neighbor. And as a result, she started finding her car keyed. The two of them were parked together, the neighbor's car and hers. And her car was badly keyed on about over a 2-year period, about a half dozen times. And her rose bushes and other flowers were pulled up or cut down to the ground. She loved her flowers. Just vicious things like that going on. And someone here was working with her. And, you know, it's hard when there's not a witness. It's really hard. And so I'm glad to hear that strong leaders from all our mutuals are getting together to try to solve this problem. That's what we need, is well-informed leaders taking charge of this. You know, we're different from the other mutuals, and we don't want to be the same. We like our way of life, which is on an extended lease. We all lease our homes. This board renews the leases for us pretty well automatically every so many years, and we continue to be leasees, not owners. We don't have deeds to our homes. We all have a stock certificate, same one for everybody. And one of the first guarantees that I've heard boards give new members here is you have a right to enjoy your life. You have a right to enjoy living here. So when something is crushing in on that, that's why these people, of course, we know need so much help. But I hope that we will continue to support the organization the way it's going on, give them as much time as they need. I think we've got the best people, because they're from all the boards, working on this. I don't know quite what we'll do, but United does have an extra bit of leverage because we have leases. Okay?
Thank you, Maxine.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, Miguel?
No.
Okay, let's move on to, excuse me, 12C, the strategic planning. We did have a meeting on that. And what we're trying to understand about this is that if you have a green book, that's your basic business plan. That's the default position for 2 other plans, a strategic plan and a master plan. And we talk about the strategic plan right now, but the default position is the master plan. It has to do with who's in charge of positions, money, and marketing. Then you go on to a 5 to 20-year plan called a master plan. And also, in the meantime, you have a strategic plan. And I'm very, Director Ascari has taken on herself to take all the suggestions from the board to try to consolidate that. Where are we with that, Director Ascari?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yes, on June 17, we get for the second time together as all directors. First, we collected, and on the second time, we voted which one we want to accept, which one not. And if you go to, it's printed, 13 of them, strategic that we all voted, is in page 2 of 4 for July 17. And because it was open meeting, it will be on the website. You can see by yourself. In here, you can see on July 17, second page, page 2 out of 4, all 30 points is right there. And the most important is, I think, all of them important. You can say which one is over which one. Water issue was very important that we discussed on that one. Reduction of grass that we have. And another very important is starting town hall because it's communication with the residents. I know people can come to the board, but board is a little bit official. Some people don't want to be televised or they got intimated to come here. But a town hall is a little bit less formal, and hopefully more people can come. And I am sure VMS staff would be happy to take notes. And their desire is you live, as mentioned, Maxi, that you live happy here. That's their desire too. I work with them closely, and they are really wants to do that for us. If you wanted all these 30, would be on the website and look at them. And we are going to continue our sessions to pick up from 30, which one is first and which one second on the next meeting that we have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Ascari. All right, let's move on. 12D, United Committee assignments. The big thing here is our new Landscape Tree Ad Hoc Committee. Director Casey, would you like to read off your appointments there?
Yeah, so we did decide on, we had people submit requests to be on the committee, and we have formed the committee, and the advisors are Jack Salvador, Robert Reyes, Carl Randazzo, Joseph Sean Siri, Cheryl Nielsen, Ken Benson, and Mary Sinclair, and myself, and also staff.
I'll say, Director Casey, where do you go with this committee? What's the next meeting?
Well, it's scheduled for July 18th, I believe, and I'll follow up with the secretary, or JJ.
Okay, to the board here present, these are the new committee assignments. Do we have any observations? Director Blackwell?
I have a question. Maybe I should have asked this somewhere else, but there is a resident hearing committee that comes on the same day as CAC, and yet it comes the week before also. And so it's very hard to know which is which. On the calendar printed for us for the week, for the bi-week, 2 weekly times, it has the same name, and it appears once the week before and then once on the CAC day, and it seems to appear in the morning and in the afternoon on CAC day sometimes. And I don't know if that is, I know NEDA's is on member hearings, that's on a certain day and time and standard all the time. But this other one must be,
But excuse me for interrupting, Director Blackwell, but aren't we considering committee assignments?
all right, okay. Well, I see, I want to say that whichever one it is that meets on CAC day, I can't get there because CAC always extends its time. So I need Cash or somebody else to take that one. That would be the member hearings committee, I think.
It's the Resident Advisory Committee that meets the second Thursday of every month at 4 p.m.
Okay, that's the one, that's the one. Okay, so that's resident advisory, okay.
So are you making some type of a motion?
I'm
here?
asking Cash Akrakar if he will replace me on that committee.
He was there last month. Oh.
So we have Director Blackwell requesting a change on committee assignments. Do we have any questions or omissions? All right, anybody else? Director Casey?
I just have another request. I'm not sure where the landscape advisors go, because I know Siobhan went to mention that one time, but I don't know if she's been informed that Mary Jo Sinclair and Ann Beltran are the advisors for landscape? Because that, yeah, so I gave that to Kurt along with these names for the landscape tree ad hoc committee, but, so anyway, I just want to follow up with that because I'd like them to attend the meeting.
So right now, I think what's on the floor is to approve the committee assignments as changed by Director Blackwell and agreed to by Director Cash Akrakar.
And I have one question.
Director Ascari?
On the page 4 out of 4, website ad hoc committee, the reason I decided to take my name off, that you be Anthony Liberator, not alternate, you be a member.
Yeah.
So that alternate should be crossed. You are the member.
Thank you, Director Ascari.
Cross that one, and I wanted that be corrected as a
Taylor, are you
member.
taking all this down? You got it?
I will. I'll be watching back the video, and I'll make sure to take note.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the committee assignments as amended by the directors, please? Director
I
Blackwell?
move we approve the amended committee assignments.
We have a second? Nita, Director Ardani has got a second. All in favor of accepting as, please raise your hand. Okay, the
favor.
people at home, Director Bastani, how do you vote? You're muted, please. Unmute yourself. Director Andre Torn, unmute yourself. How do you vote?
I vote no.
All right, no. We have one no. Director Torn?
I abstain.
Abstain.
I'm not on this, but I'm abstain.
All right, thank you, Director Torn. Michaela, could you give us a count, please? And this is amendment proposed by Director Blackwell, seconded by Director Cash Akrakar to accept the committee assignments as amended.
And the only amended was, could you repeat what was the amended? The alternate cross, and what was the other amendment?
The other one was Director
Oh,
Cash.
Director Cash
is
goes,
replacing
okay,
Director
yeah.
Blackwell.
The motion passed.
Okay,
Could I have the vote count, please?
I have it as 9-1.
okay.
Okay. The committee assignments as amended by the board has been accepted. Thank you, by 9-1. All right, let's move on. We have a presentation by the El Toro Water District. Avenida Sevilla Pump Station Project. Who's going to give that report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Manuel Gomez, the Director of Maintenance and Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
We were informed late last night by the El Toro Water District that they were not going to be available to make their presentation today. They've put that project on hold temporarily, and they'd like to come back to the board at a future meeting and make their presentation. But just so the board knows, the El Toro Water District is proposing to add a new driveway to their pump station that's on Avenida Sevilla down by the creek. There's a lot of details to be worked out. We suggest that they come to the board and present their project. But as I said, unfortunately, they're not available today, but they would like to withdraw their request to speak to you today, but would like to come back to you at a future meeting with a presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a quick question. Is that 30% reduction water still going on?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Yeah, we're in drought. I don't know either.
Thank you.
Thank you for that update. I appreciate it. And let us know when they decide they want to come so we can alert the residents, please. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now, under new business, 13A, we have the addendum. Director Blackwell, would you do the honor of reading the addendum, please?
Okay. This is, I'm reading the recommendation, let me see, unless there's a resolution over here, on page 3 of 4. Discretionary investment change to treasuries. A United Laguna Woods Mutual discretionary investment balance was $14,372,440.12. And whereas the discretionary account is an investment account that allows the corporation's investment manager to buy and sell investments without the board's consent for each trade, and whereas the funds maintained in the discretionary account, in the opinion of the managing agent, are not required within a reasonable time to pay obligations of the board, and whereas the board desires to transfer discretionary investment funds to Bank of America, where the funds will be used to purchase U.S. treasuries insured by the federal government. Now therefore be it resolved, August 9, 2022, that the board of this corporation hereby authorizes the full discretionary investment account balance currently held by Fidelity Investments be transferred to the Bank of America Reserve Bank account. Resolved further that the board of this corporation hereby authorizes the managing agent of this corporation to purchase U.S. treasuries at the current available rates with the following maturities: 25% of the account balance maturing in 6 months, 25% in 12 months, 25% in 18 months, 25% of the account balance in 24 months. Resolved further, the board of this corporation hereby authorizes the managing agent of this corporation to provide Old Investment Manager Sageview a 90-day termination notice as outlined in the Investment Advisory Services Agreement dated October 1st, 2019. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
All right, this resolution
I
has been moved
second
by
it.
Director Blackwell and seconded by
Seconded, and I
Director-
have explanation,
Director
Mr.
Ascari. It's seconded. Now we're open for debate.
Let's, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Director Ascari.
I want President notes that based on the investment that Sageview has for us right now, as we are talking, we have lost $1 million. $1 million so far this year. So in that case, we have to start something that, as we call it, stop bleeding until we find a solution for making money. So this is proposed by Director Ross. And Director Ross, based on the research that he had a motion in the finance meeting that we had that we make it 25% in 6 months, 25% 12 months treasury, 25% 18 months, and 25% in 24 months. The reason make it in the segment just in case if there is a necessary need, so we can have a cash on hands if by chance something happened. This will give us a roughly about 2.5%, and we ask if we are moving to this one, when we can get this $1 million back. Even with this system, it's going to take about between 2 and 2.5 years until we get that one back. So at this point, this is a reasonable move we do until we find a better solution. This is not enough. Inflation goes up. We have to come up with a better plan to make money. Because if we are not making money, our reserve account will be really, really in trouble. Probably in 10 years, we will not have any reserve account because even HOA keep going up, is not be at the level of inflation and at the level of the expenditures that comes every year. So the difference goes to the reserve account and eat up little by little our reserve account. And that's the reason. So we have to come up with a better solution to make money. This will make money, at least is not losing money, I should say, better way, but is not enough. Is not enough for our expenses, especially, as you know, the community getting age of 60 years old. So until we find and introduce a better way, I move for this, we accept this one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Ascari. I'd like
Casey.
to put in my 2 cents.
Director Ross wants to talk.
Director Ross?
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I was the one that passed this motion at a finance meeting a couple months ago. And the main reason for it is that, as Azar had said, during the time that Sageview had managed the accounts, they put us in these volatile bond funds. And every time interest rates kept going up, we kept losing more money. And we lost about 800,000, as Azar had said. And therefore, we can't continue the bleed. And so we came up with the idea of layering our accounts into the most conservative investments possible over 25% 6 months, 25% 12 months, 25% 18 months, and 25% 24 months, all treasury bills. And by doing this, not only will we make money, and we're gonna make more money because at the end of July, interest rates are gonna go up again. And so we'll probably, instead of about 4 million or 400,000 a month, we'll probably be making around 450,000 a month. And the secondary point is that VMS, I want to compliment VMS on doing a great job in preparing this staff report and this resolution, which summarized my position excellently. And also, VMS has indicated that they would be able to make these investments instead of Sageview, which would save us further investments because we don't have to pay Sageview 7 basis points for doing these investments. We now have VMS do these investments for us. So I think it's a win-win until we find something better. I think this is the best that we've come up with, and it'll at least get us caught up. And within about 2 years, we'll catch up with our losses and then proceed from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. I'd like to say something. You know, getting into treasuries now, I think we're getting into a high market in treasuries. They're up. Not everybody, a lot of people bailing into treasuries. And I'd like to know hard numbers, what it's going to cost us to get out of Fidelity and what it's going to cost us to get into treasuries. There has to be some cost there. And can we recover our costs in 12 months? That's all I have. Director Casey?
Yeah, I'm really against this. And so I just want to say that these losses that they're talking about, they're unrealized. And treasuries have unrealized losses too. You know, if we got into treasuries and we needed the money, the market value would be different, you know. So it just, and it's hard to get the exact treasuries you want. So we have short-term index funds, which total like 522,000 as of May. I don't have the current statement. And so those are going to mature. And so that 521,000 is not going to exist as an unrealized loss. Now, there is a long-term fund that is the cost of that was $3,508,000, and its market value is down, and that unrealized loss is $300,000. So I don't think we should take a hit of $1 million loss. I mean, that would be a hard loss. if we were to do this plan. I just don't think it's feasible. I would love to hear from Daniel, who is with Sage, because we needed a better presentation to this board and also to the residents, because we'd be taking $1 million hit. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Director Casey, and I want to go around to the board first before we get to our advisor.
I
Director
believe I
English.
was next. Mhm.
Director English.
Yes. I've listened to what Diane said, and I agree with her. I'm very concerned about it, and particularly am I concerned about the fact that we were advised, by whom I'm not sure, could have been our attorney, that anything like this would have to go to the board members to start with. And that's one thing I'm very, very concerned with. Is that a true statement or not? And hopefully our attorney will be able to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Director English. Director Blackwell.
Yes, I see Daniel Quirk of Sageview on my screen. I would like to. Oh, thank you. I see Daniel Quirk on our screen. I would like to hear from Sageview.
Okay, I don't see.
If that's
any-
appropriate?
I don't see any other hands raised, so Director Shaban, I'm sorry.
I do want to mention we have Steve Hormuth, our Financial Services Director here. I don't know if he wants to make any prefacing comments before Mr. Kirk speaks.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, President Libatorian and members of the board, and also Dan Quirk, who's online. So a couple quick points of clarification. So the direction that came from the board was a couple years ago that made the recommendation to go to index funds. So I want you, the board and the residents, to have as much money as possible. So, but just a clarification, it wasn't Sageview who directed the investment to move from treasuries to index funds. That being said, yes, if you were to go ahead and sell your investments today, or approximately about a month from now, whenever the 28 days comes up, you would take a realized hard loss of $1 million. Based upon today's rates in the treasuries, they're about 2.5%. It would take you roughly about 2 to 3 years to make up that $1 million loss. On the upside would be it's a known amount as long as treasuries stay level, which they will continue to fluctuate, but as long as they're positive, you will regain that money. With regards to your current investments, they will continue to fluctuate. So you could see a couple more losses. Dan Quirk is online to discuss potentially some insight into the future. So that's why he's available today. With regards to the Dr. Casey, her comment with regards to the treasuries, if you were to move into purely treasuries, and they are laddered based upon Director Ross's recommendation. So 25% would be available in 6 months, another 25% in a year. If you were to need the money immediately, if you were to purchase those treasuries but need the money tomorrow, yes. Due to fluctuating rates, you would not realize that same amount. There would be a penalty to pull it out. But that's why, that's expressly why Director Ross had recommended to ladder the investments. So hopefully we would not need to pull the money any sooner than necessary. So, but there is a risk whenever you're investing cash. So, but again, once again, we invited your current advisor to give you some insight into the future and potentially any recommendations that he may propose to your investments as opposed to what you're currently holding. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So can we listen to Daniel, is your name?
Yeah, Dan Quirk with Sageview Advisory Group, and really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today. Steve, thanks for the background there. And, I want to provide some big picture context for the bond market, the shorter duration bond market, and then the markets in general. And then I'll talk about the portfolio interest rate environment today, positioning for the future. So, I think everyone recognizes that 2022 is maybe the worst bond market in several generations, right? The bond market, broadly speaking, is down 10.5%. So this is a very, very bad year for the bond market. Your portfolio is heavily skewed weighted to treasuries and investment grade corporates. you basically have no corporate or credit risk in your portfolio. You did have a little bit of maturity or duration risk. The average duration of the portfolio is around 3 years or so, typical for most bond portfolios. I'm sure if any of you have personal investment accounts, if you look at any bond fund, it's down generally more than 10% this year. So I think it's important to understand, what's happening with the current portfolio in light of everything else that's happening in the capital markets, stock, but most importantly, the bond market. So that being said, I think we all understand by now that a rise in interest rates creates this negative mark to market on longer duration bonds. Basically, anything longer than a year requires this mark to market accounting. That does not it does not matter if it's inside a bond fund, an index fund like we have, a bond mutual fund, or individual bonds. Only short duration treasury bills have no mark to market, but there can be time constraints. So I want to be very clear that regardless of whether it's in a fund structure or in an individual bond structure, there are legal accounting requirements for that mark-to-market adjustment. So just to be clear there. So, back to interest rate movements. This increase in interest rates is one of the most significant ever. I think some of us have seen the Fed and the announcement with their interest rate increasing by 50 basis points at the last meeting. The speculation is 75 basis points at this upcoming meeting in July. This is really hasn't happened in 30 plus years effectively. And why is that? Because inflation rates are running very high, 7-8%. We're not even talking about purchasing power in these discussions, but it is important for everyone to recognize that one of the big risks with bond portfolios is a hidden risk, but it's the erosion of purchasing power over time. And I think one of the reasons that SAGE was brought in a couple of years ago was because the portfolio was in ultra conservative, kind of short duration, high fees, high expenses, and you weren't earning much in the way of returns. That will still happen. All the evidence shows that we could switch to a treasury portfolio and make this decision, and then we'll figure it out in 2 years. But the future is always unknown. There's always bouts of volatility. I would argue that the past 6 months has been extreme in terms of the interest rate upward movement. Of course, we saw big movements with the initial pandemic in 2020, but they were favorable in terms of interest rates declining. So there wasn't, as much discussion. I tried to shorten the duration, afterwards, a little bit. By hindsight, 2020, interest rates have moved a lot. So that being said, today, if you look at the yield, and the best way really to think about bonds is what are the yields today? When you think about as opposed to stock, the return from bonds really comes from the yield. Interest rates will cause these mark-to-market adjustments up and down, particularly when rates are lower. There was this hidden risk that we saw materialize, especially with treasuries, where a rise in interest rates can cause these temporary mark-to-market that can take 1 to 2 years to recover. But that's already happened. So there's discussions, and it's not necessarily a bad recommendation, but just to be clear, there's discussion that the 3-month Treasury bill rate is around 1.7%, give or take, today. The Fed is likely to raise interest rates by 75 basis points at the upcoming July meeting. So in the next few weeks or so, we could have 3-month Treasury bills kind of yielding near 2.5. Usually there's a little bit of a discount, so maybe 2.2, 2.3%. If you look at the yield on your portfolio today, it's higher than 2%. It's actually closer to 2.95 or 3%. You have about a 28% allocation, for instance, to the Vanguard investment grade corporate bond fund. I pulled up the yield this morning, the 30-day SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission yield. It's a required calculation. The yield on that fund, these are investment grade bonds that have a duration of less than 3 years. It's about 4.05% is what I saw. So if you look at shifting to an all treasury bill, portfolio as of today, you can get kind of around 1.8% today, and in a month or so, it could be 2.5%, maybe the Fed gets close to 3%, 3.25% at the end of the year. This investment grade corporate bond fund is already yielding over 4%. So where I think there might be a meeting of the minds, or where we could potentially, decrease a little bit of the volatility, maybe with the Treasury bond funds, which are yielding around 2.7% or so today, 2.6, 2.7% today, or that's what they're going to yield in the next few weeks. We moved to a shorter duration 3-month Treasury bill for approximately 70% of the portfolio, and then keep that short duration, high quality investment grade corporate bond fund that provides right now a 4% plus yield. And the reason to do that is it's really difficult to, if you decide, hey, we're going to go to this laddered, 6 month, 12, 18, portfolio of treasuries, and then we'll decide. It's really hard to kind of say, okay, we're going to move into, what we previously had, or something kind of comparable to that, the interest rate environment change. The future is always going to be uncertain. And one thing that shows overwhelmingly, I think it's important when we think about your portfolio today, it's important to have a long-term view, right? Not worry about 3 months or 6 months or a year. This portfolio, as it was kind of conveyed to Seiju when we were first brought on, this is many years, decades in the making. When you look at what's the lowest rate of return for investments, it tends to be Treasury bills. They can be great during really volatile periods, but my strong suspicion, concern is that volatile upward shift has already happened. So to a certain extent, to use an analogy of a stock market investment, it's kind of like, hey, the stock market was down in March or April of 2020, or fall, winter of 2008. Let's get out of stocks and go to cash or bonds. It's not quite the same, but my concern, my recommendation is that we've had a lot of volatility, really the most unprecedented in the bond and interest rate markets that we've seen in really 25, 30 years. I think we can maybe hedge the difference a little bit because the yield curve is flat right now. You don't get a lot of benefit from going out to 2 or 3 years on the Treasury, especially if the Fed's going to move up to 2.5% in the next few weeks. So we could, balance by keeping that corporate bond exposure, because that diversifies a little bit of your return by having high quality, corporate spreads, which right now are going to yield you around 4.1%, plus those treasuries that are going to move up in yield to 2.5%, and maybe 3% or so by the end of the year. So I know I threw a lot out at you. We can keep the portfolio, totally as is. I think that will actually generate the highest return going forward, but there could be a little bit, of volatility. That's sometimes the part of, the inevitable part of investment. We could take some of that volatility off of the table by cutting the treasury and the government-backed mortgage bonds, back to, we reinvest those in treasury bills, leave the corporate. And then as and when we see the Fed kind of signal that, hey, we're done with interest rate increases, which will probably be by the end of this year or next year, the Fed is absolutely going to be looking at inflation levels. And if those come down, and there are some indications that they will be coming down by the end of the year, I think we'll have a lot more visibility into interest rate fluctuation. And at that point, it could make more sense to reinvest in kind of the fund structure. So maybe kind of 6, 9, 12 months from now. My concern is that if we move to this all treasury bill portfolio, you'll stay there forever. And again, the erosion of purchasing power with inflation over the long run is quite significant. It's something to be very aware of. So just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's go around the board here. Do we have any questions for Daniel? Director Ascari?
No, I don't have question for Daniel, but I have some observation or listening what he said. Daniel, you mentioned 3 things in your explanation. Thank you so much. You explained very well. Higher return if we stay But please understand, yes, it might be higher. In 2020, we earned 600,000, but it's a bell shape. We were happy, and now we are 1 million down. It's looked like soap opera. We're happy one day and then crying the other day, and then happy other day, crying other day. This community, by nature, we are conservative. That's why we are coming to this. We cannot tolerate. Maybe younger people have tolerance to goes up and happy and goes down, but that 600,000 that could be cash now is 1 million negative, and that's a lot for us. So even is higher, but please understand, this is the story I am sure everybody knows about the turtle and then the rabbit. Yes, it might be faster, but the winner is the turtle that slowly, but keep going up, keep going up. And what we are going to the treasury, we're always making money. Yes, it might not be very high, but it's always making money. And that's the most important that we wanted, because we are making decision for budget based on how much we have. And then in that case, we know how much we have. We know by end of 6 months how much we have, because the treasury bond is going to be end in the 6 months. So the most important for us is certainty, and then not non-stop goes up, happy goes down. That I hope you understand the nature of this community. I'm sure you have lots of clients, and you did great job, and those they like it going up and down. But this community, they are not very happy that going up and then whoosh going down and then going. Roller coaster doesn't work for 55 plus, okay? We want it just slowly, but keep going. So this, with appreciation, all of things that you did and said, I hope I answer why we are thinking. I am in favor of this until we find a better plan. If we find a better plan, please understand everybody, even we vote in this one, is gonna stay, we're not gonna sell tomorrow, because it should stay 28 days. And we will see what's happened. And then back 28, maybe if we gain some by that time, we change our mind. So please understand, if we voted, and this is a stop bleeding 1 month. Third did it. You're saving, I don't know, you're working for that or not.
Thank you, Director Ascari.
Okay, thank you so much. But third is in positive right now.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director Blackwell.
I don't like, I'm very conservative, okay? I don't like cutting now. We are probably at the lowest of the low.
No.
That is the worst time to sell. So I held on to a lot of stuff through my career, and eventually it all came out quite well. But there were times when I held on for a better time, and actually when I finished, it was all great. And so I am conservative in that way, and I would, this may be the bottom of the pit, you know, and it might be tomorrow start climbing up. We don't know, but I would never really try to sell at the bottom. Thank you.
Director Diane Casey.
Yes. In May, we had
Can you turn on your microphone? Thank you.
In May, we had a positive 111,000 increase in our it was positive, reducing our unrealized loss. So these things do fluctuate. And, but yet we do have a guarantee that we can, reach maturity and have our investment. So I would say, why take $1 million loss right now? I don't know.
Thank you, Director Casey. Any other directors? Director Cash-Akrikar.
Right now, our loss is paper loss anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a paper loss.
Yeah. So what is the sense of moving the money when we are at a low end? I think we should let it ride and see what the market will do. I think positive things are happening. The COVID situation is kind of getting to the end, and things will change. Let's not get panicky and remove at the low end of the totem pole and take the loss, which will require us 2 to 3 years to make up. That's the way I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kashak. Ricard, Director Lee, did you add anything
Oh,
to
well,
say?
I agree with Cash and Diane. I think we should write it out.
Okay. Director Ross.
Yeah, for the last 6 months, we've had these discussions with Sageview, and Sageview insists that these bond funds are volatile and will continue to be volatile. And interest rates are not going down. Every time interest rates went up, we lost money on these accounts. And interest rates in end of July are going to go up again, and they're probably going to go up 3 or 4 more times before the end of the year. Every time interest rates go up, we lose more money. And our community cannot afford to lose more money. We have to make a change so that we start making money. Now's the time. And that's why I'm in favor of this motion. And I think if we continue to do what we're doing, it's sheer idiocy. We need to, when the stock market has fallen as far as it has, and people say, maybe it's better to ride it out. Let's wait till the stock market comes back. Well, there's a lot of people that are seniors that can't wait for 5 years to regain their losses. And therefore, personally, my feeling was that I got out of the stock market about 6 months ago and have it all in cash. And I'm waiting for the right time to get back into it. And I'll probably invest my money in T-bills or CDs because it's a much safer investment than the stock market or the bond market. And personally, I think this measure, although it might be unpopular with some of you because of the loss that we were going to entertain, I think it's the most important thing that we need to do to get us in the right direction and to start making money. And although it's more conservative and may not pay the returns of the funds that we're currently in, it's a more safer investment. And I think that's what our community wants us to be, in the most safest investments possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. No hands up. Let me go back to Daniel. Daniel, can you answer some of our concerns?
Sure. Maybe I'll be repeating myself a little bit. And that was Director Ross who spoke at the end there?
Yes, it is.
So, I appreciate what you're saying, in terms of conservatism and safety. Again, these bond funds are also, yes, there have been some movements relative to the bond world is very volatile, but these aren't volatile in the way that stocks can be volatile down, 20%, sometimes 30, 40, 50% over the course of a single year. And then, one of the mandates that Sageview understood this to be is this is a longer-term portfolio. So there's perceived risk. Hey, any volatility we can't handle, and that can be a very legitimate risk. But there's also actual risk. It is the duration and the need of this portfolio, over the next 3, 4, 5 years, is it to be liquidated? That's not how certainly Sageview understood the portfolio. So I want to absolutely, kind of respect and acknowledge what you're saying in terms of, residents want safety and security. But at the same time, this is a longer duration portfolio that's been existent for, my understanding is decades, and that will likely be the case going forward. So, again, when we think about the yields and the returns on the portfolio today and bonds today, there could be a little bit more volatility in the second half of the year, but I'm already starting to see a lot of signals that it's starting to tamp down a little bit. The bond funds will always have a little bit more volatility than Treasury bills. But that being said, I think staying the course does make sense. We are seeing, just from independent of these conversations that we're having, we have seen a big shift in the interest rate environment. So I would be making some changes anyway. For instance, the yield curve is very, very flat right now. So there are probably some changes that I'm going to be making, regardless of, if you decide to stick with SAGU and the index fund structure. There will probably be some tweaks and adjustments that SAGU makes anyway. So appreciate that there's differing points of view. I wholeheartedly agree with the mantra of staying the course. There's a lot of rationality in the portfolio. I wouldn't call this an overly risky or aggressive portfolio. You look at the holdings. You own Treasury bills, Treasury bonds that are 2 to 3 year in duration. That's the vast majority of your portfolio. Another 28% is investment grade. These are AA, single A, triple B bonds that have an incredibly low risk of default and an outstanding history. Those are duration. Those companies like Microsoft and GE, with maturities of 2 to 3 years. And then you have government-backed, mortgage bonds. These have the full faith, and credit of the United States government. So when you actually look at what is in the bond funds, this is what you want to invest in, Director Ross. It's just that in hindsight, we've had this incredibly, steep spike in interest rates that make it look like it's a volatile group of investments. But if you look at the underlying investments, these are Treasury bonds that are maturing in 2 or 3 years, and corporate bonds that are high grade quality maturing in 2 or 3 years. So there's a lot of conservatism. It's been an unfortunate interest rate environment. SAGU, of course, wishes we had the benefit of 2020 hindsight. I would, of course, reposition, but things happen. I think we can't worry about what happened over the past 6 months, but where are we today and what's the best strategy going forward? And I do think, a significant amount of staying the course. Your portfolio is incredibly conservative in a lot of ways, and I think, it'll generate a slightly higher return than moving to Treasury bills. And then the real, kind of risk of moving to Treasury bills is, when do we decide, are we going to try something different, or are we just going to stay in lower yielding Treasury bills forever? And just as a reminder, a year ago, you were paying negative rates of return to buy a 3-month Treasury bill. That's how bad the Treasury bill market was last year. You couldn't even earn a positive return. I talked to a lot of the bond buyers on the trading desk at Fidelity. They weren't deeply negative, but negative 3-month Treasury bills. Obviously, we're not here today. We have a much higher interest rate environment, but even Treasury bills 6 months ago, 8 months ago, were very unattractive, especially when you think about the inflationary environment we're in. So hope that addresses some of your comments there, but happy to answer more questions if there are any.
Thank you.
May I
Michaela?
have-
Yes, there was a member comment that I put up on the screen. I'm not sure if that member wants to speak or not.
Okay, I can't read it, to be honest with you.
It's from Christine O'Hara, and they said, why didn't Daniel pull us out to save the loss earlier than this discussion today?
Sure, I can answer the question. It's hard to predict markets, right? This is, we've seen inflation rise to levels that are the highest in 40 years, and we've seen the Fed make interest rate movements that it hasn't done in almost 30 years. So extremely difficult to predict.
Sorry, Daniel. This is actually my question. It's from the January, when they declared, they informed the people that the inflation is going to be 8.5, I think, %, the interest rate started to goes up from January. And I want to know that exactly the same question, why you guys, as an advisor to us, they didn't bring it to the board that you wanted to sell that stock that we have and then go to the safer way. Instead that we, now is 6 months past. And the interest rate goes up and up, and now I think it's around 6 or maybe 7%. Why we didn't do it on January, or at least why you guys didn't tell us that we can do
Well,
that?
and I'll just remind, in November, we did shorten the duration of the portfolio. We sold the intermediate, treasury and intermediate, corporate bonds. So we did, we were anticipating, we just didn't anticipate that the movement would be this great. And again, this is pretty much how the whole market, was surprised, right? That the average bond fund was down 10.5% in the first half. And with respect to Director Ross, I hear from people all the time that they time the market perfect, but when you look at people's statements, I guarantee the vast majority of the people in Laguna Woods have large bond portfolios, and they're looking at their personal statements, and that those bond funds are down over 10% for the first half of the year. Guarantee it. You all have a lot of colleagues that have bond funds and investments that are down 10% this year. So again, we need to understand that the performance of this portfolio isn't unique. It's down 4 or 5%, but the performance of the bond market is more than double the decline. So it's important to understand the context here as well.
Okay, Dana? All right. Director English.
Yes, I have actually asked this question before, but have not got a definitive answer on it. Is it true or is it not true that we would have to get members' votes in order to go to this new method?
Well, I think that's not Dane's concern, right?
Pardon?
We would have to go and post it, right? Does
We
this
are
have to come
posted,
from the
but it's at the
residents?
direction of the board.
This has to come
Yeah,
from the
right.
residents.
We don't.
So we
go
don't
to-
know the answer to that,
We-
is what
we-
the answer is.
We don't go to the residents for our investments.
Yes.
We don't ask them.
Yeah.
That is the duty of the board to
The
make
board.
the best decisions we can. We don't send it out to a ballot.
Correct.
No, we don't do that. We can't. I mean, we really can't.
Director Casey?
But do we post it for 28 days?
Yes, but I was before Diane Casey. My hands is
Okay.
up.
All right, thank Director Rice. Director Torn.
Thank you for the opportunity. Just so happened I've been reconsolidate my investment lately, and I put half my investment in the index fund and half my investment in cash. Okay. The situation at this point is inflation going to be a problem? If we look at the war, that's the one reason for the inflation. It's not going to finish by maybe till the end of the year, the way it goes. Okay, and that results in shortage in energy. Will that be resolved in a year or so, half a year? Well, Biden is going to Arab and Saudi Arabia, and it's not seems like that based on the report, it's not going to get any better, any good response from them. Okay, so inflation and recession, the consumer tariff will not reduce, so the cost will still be high for the residents, for our citizens, for U.S. So I don't think the market prediction is that the market is not going to get any better, and people projected maybe 20% drop. So the answer at the strategy at this point is: should we bail out right now and then come back in when it gets to 15% drop? Okay, that's my prediction at this point. Of course, I have my money and I invest in that way. And I've already put money in currently in case it goes up. Okay, then I'm going to make money on that. If it's going to drop, I'm going to put back the rest of the half in there and then make money on that. But if we look at the Standard & Poor's history, okay, which I have on my desk at this point, in January 2000, there's a dot-com bust, and it dropped down from 1,500 to about 800. Okay, that's about 30%, 25% drop. Okay, and in the real estate market, in January 2007, it was about 1,530. Okay, March 1st, 2007, and it dropped down to about 730. That's about 50% drop. And then since then, the market has skyrocketed. Okay, went all the way up to about 4,500 in January 2021. And then it started to drop. Okay, so how far will it drop? There's talk about it's just, if you look at the curve, it's not dropping too much. Okay, potentially it could drop another 20%.
Thank you, Director Torn. Thank you, Director Torn. Do we have any, do we want to continue this debate?
You don't.
Direct, you're out of order. You've had your 3
financial
minutes. You're
analysis.
out of order. You're out of order. Director Ascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's recap some of this debate that we had it. First of all, Daniel, if you remember, at that time we had 100,000 down. I suggested in the finance, and you came and gave a presentation to us. And the scary things was at that time people says why we should take 100,000 loss. And now we are end up with $1 million loss. So I am not that as expert as you, but at that time, I care about a reserve fund money the way I care about my money. I cash all of them by myself, my investment. And I am so happy for that. But I suggested that one, and of course, board didn't decide it. So let's recap. Some director ask, is this paper loss? I should mention the gain is paper gain too. So it's the same way. Until it's not real cash, everything is happy, a smile, and this. So no, we should not think about that way. We should think if we need the money at this moment, that's why reserve for, we are lost $1 million. And we have to invest in a way that if we need it, we're not losing. Another director says why we should take the loss now. If you take the last 100,000, we shouldn't take the last 1 million. And if you're not taking now, you're getting more in the next month coming. The news is everywhere. Nobody has crystal ball, but we can read the news. What's going on? It's going to go down. So the good example, if you want to say example, is Third. Third did a few months ago when we said it, do it. United didn't, but Third did. But Third is starting to making positive now. Not only Cobble is starting to being positive because they switch it to this one, to this. So yes, there is example that you can see. Please go and see Third Financial so you can see the difference. So these are all when you talk it in the different, this is must, even we vote, as I said, 28 days is gonna stay. And this way is a turtle, is a small version, but is always positive. Remember, going up, everybody be happy, 600,000, we got it this month, it's paper again. It's gonna go down again. So in that case, but treasury is money. When it's full and then pass the time, then it's the money. So let's to get to the point that we really feel the real money until we find a better plan. If we find a better plan, we're gonna switch to the better plan. But at this moment, this plan is very reasonable. Please think about the whole community and what is important for the reserve account.
Thank you,
Please.
Director
Thank you.
Ascari. We have on here Elsie Addington. You have the floor, Elsie.
Thank you. Is my microphone working?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. I think we're talking at cross purposes here. I'm glad Daniel's here. The bond funds are composed of, like Dan said, certain high-rated bonds, a lot of them. And we paid a certain amount, whatever the going rate was, when we made that purchase, which incidentally was at the direction of the previous board. So Dan didn't just make this up. He would have been glad to put the money wherever he wanted. I'm not married to Dan, but I was there, and we told him to put a certain percentage of our investment into these bond funds. Well, okay, we paid a certain amount. Now the price of those bond funds has decreased because of all the reasons Dan out. But it's just like Dan outlined. It's just like if you bought a house for $500,000, and all of a sudden the market goes down to $250,000 for your house, and you go, oh my God, I'm going to sell the house before it goes down any further. Well, the difference between the house analogy and the bond analogy is a house doesn't have a face value. And the bonds, if we wait until the bonds mature, and these are companies, again, big companies like Dan mentioned, big companies, they're obligated to pay us or pay the fund a certain amount of money. And that's the same amount of money that was guaranteed when we purchased the bonds. So if we hold on, like Diane said, if we sell now, we're going to lose. We no longer own those bonds. And when they mature, somebody else is going to buy them while they're cheap. And when they mature, they're going to get the benefit, and we're going to lose the money. And Azar makes a good point. If we need the money, it won't be there. Well, we've got millions and millions of dollars. If we get to the point where $1 million is going to kill us, then we're doomed anyway. So I just wanted to point out those observations. Diane's exactly right that unrealized loss will become a recognized loss, and we will lose $1 million, and we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. That's what I believe. Dan, can you elaborate on it a little bit?
But Elsie, thank you for the history when Sage was first brought on, so appreciate that. And yeah, I agree with and acknowledge all of the things that you're saying. I think it's not to beat a dead horse here, but interest rates rose significantly. Again, this wasn't just a small increase in interest rates. This was the largest increase that we've seen in 30 years. So this is really quite unprecedented. And when you think about your portfolio, that was always the key risk, interest rate risk. It wasn't credit risk or stock market risk. It's always interest rate risk. So yes, I'm a big believer of keeping our eye on the long term. I'm a Warren Buffett disciple. He's more famous for stocks, but it definitely applies to bonds as well. I think getting overly focused on 3 months or 6 months when we're really talking about a portfolio that's going to be managed for decades it's counterproductive. It's important to look at those 3 and 6 months results. And hey, can we tweak and adjust things? But so I fully kind of appreciate, agree, support what you just said, Elsie, and I think other board members have stated as well. And that's not to discount what the other directors have said. I totally acknowledge and appreciate what they said. But I think having a longer term perspective is critical to long-term investment success.
And could you confirm or deny the maturity date and what happens at the maturity date of the various bonds that are within the fund?
With the bond fund managers, it varies a little bit. For instance, the Vanguard Treasury Bond Fund, they're investing for the maturities or the average duration. They have thousands of bond funds in the fund. Ditto for the Fidelity Fund. Oftentimes, they will hold some of those bonds to maturities. Sometimes the bond managers, again, this is a very, very narrow universe within the bond world. These are treasury bonds that have, 1 month to 4 or 5 years of duration. So some of those bonds, they absolutely hold to maturity. Sometimes they'll get bids. Like I mentioned that example a year ago. We would have had to pay a negative rate to get a 6-month treasury bill or a 3-month treasury bill. So sometimes a bond manager, if they're on the other side, if someone's saying, hey, someone's going to give me a really nice price, they'll sell at that nice price. So not every single bond, just to answer the question, is held to maturity. Some of them absolutely go to maturity, but the bond managers, again, within this very, very tight, narrow universe of treasury bills, you know, they hold some to maturity. Some if they see a favorable, you know, bid on the other side, they'll take that. But for the most part, they're keeping the duration or the maturity for the Vanguard one at about 2 years, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, and then the Fidelity one is around 2.8 or so. So not every single bond is held to maturity, but many of them are.
Thank you, Daniel. Director Casey?
I just wanted to make a point about Third. So Third made their change in January to switch to treasuries. And, you know, they have fluctuating balances too. I mean, where they have unrealized losses if they were to sell, you know. It's just they don't put it on the books because they treat their accounting differently. They don't recognize the unrealized losses. And they probably had a turnaround in May like we did. We had a turnaround of $111,000 positive. So, you know, these fluctuations happen. And, you know, it would be a shame to take a loss of $1 million.
Thank you, Director Casey. Are we ready for the vote, or we want to continue
Yes,
the debate?
please. Let's go for the vote. I mean,
Can we have a vote
everybody.
for 28 days?
Yes, for 28 days.
Yes.
So
So
a vote
somebody
for 28 days?
we're voting on the addendum 13A. Do I hear a
Yes.
motion for a vote?
Yes.
I vote no.
All right, wait, so we have a motion to vote?
Yes.
And we have a
And I
second?
second it.
What's the
second it.
motion?
I
What's the
second.
motion?
It's right down. Is
We'll
the
read it
right-
on the addendum.
Okay.
I can't, I got one eye.
It, discretionary investment to change to treasuries must postpone for 28 days for member review and comment.
Correct.
Okay,
In
so
order
it's-
to comply.
So it's a postpone, okay.
So this
Postponing.
vote is to postpone, is that correct? Shimon?
No, this vote is to pass this one and wait 28 days, no cash.
It
That
says
means we're not doing.
postpone, postpone.
So this puts it on a freeze right now, and we think about it for 28 days, and then if we're ready, we make a decision.
No, you
So does
read
the
it
board
in the
understand
wrong
that
way.
We're voting on
You know better, Maggie. You said
Wait,
July
you're not
initial.
supposed to use another director's name.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Yes, you're right.
Siobhan, did I state that improperly?
Yes, because normally any
Wait.
motion,
You don't have the floor, Director Ascari.
okay, any motion.
Yes,
So
it would be-
read the motion again so we know what we're voting on.
It is the recommendation in the staff report.
Yes.
Which,
The recommend-
which reads, the Finance Committee recommends transferring the total discretionary investment account balance held by Fidelity Investments to Bank of America, where the funds will be immediately used to purchase federally insured treasuries with maturities of 25% 6 months, 25% 12 months, 25% 18 months, 25% 24 months. Concurrently with the transfer, the Finance Committee recommends the board approve a 90-day termination notice of investment advisory services performed by Sageview Advisor Group. If the recommendation is introduced today, the resolution would be put on 28-day hold and voted upon by this board at its next meeting.
Correct.
Thank you, Siobhan.
Yes.
So now the debate is over, we're having a vote. Everybody in favor of this motion signify by raising your hand, please. All right.
And
Director
ask-
Bastani, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Director
agree.
Torn, what's your vote, Director Torn?
I vote yes.
Can I have those opposed raise their
Wait,
hands?
I'll call the meeting,
Thank you.
please.
No,
All
you
those
are not-
against,
no, you-
raise your hand.
This is no.
Oh, this is no?
Yes,
Okay.
this is no. 4 no's and then the rest yes. Okay.
So Michaela, do you have the vote count, please?
I didn't get it. Can you guys keep your hands raised, please? Thank you.
All those against, raise your hand.
President can do the vote?
Yeah? Yeah. Read Robert's rules.
The motion passed 6-5.
6 to 5?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll see you in 28 days.
All right. Okay. Director comments. Let's start with Director Ross. Okay, Director Lee?
Well, I've noticed it took us 9 months to have the committee assignment finally passed. So hopefully we can do it, better job next time.
Thank you, Director Cash Akrakar.
I think we made a decision in a positive way. Thank you.
Director Diane Casey.
Well, could I ask a question? You said it was 6-5. Who were they? Because I'm not.
You are all 11.
We are
11.
11, 6,
5,
Okay.
remaining 6.
Okay.
Yeah, President Liberator voted as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Solve the problem?
Yeah. So, okay.
Okay.
All right, Director Blackwell.
Yes. Oops.
28 days.
I want to say that for most people not on vacation here, the meeting attendance was good on the committee meetings. So people increased their showing up at the committee meetings, and I think that's very important. So I appreciate everybody. I excuse those people who had reasons not to be there, but I think the attendance at the committees has gotten better. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Director Nardani.
The only things I just want to say about the harassment policy, I think the resident, as I understand, they know that we have that policy, but they want it to be more complete. If we can do some things that is coming to the governing doc and you, the people that in the committee, they are talking about it and add some things, it would be great, but I don't know, we should do it today, make a time or date or do some things for it, because it seems that it's very serious.
We can put it on
Frank,
governing
hold up.
docs.
I have the floor.
I'm sorry.
You don't have the floor. You finished, Director Nardani?
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Director Ascari?
Thank you so much. The only things that I want emphasis again, many conflict or disappointment comes from communication. I highly recommended the communication, especially like town hall or any part that resident can be a little bit more accessible to the VMS staff would be great. Please consider this town hall as soon as possible. Hopefully, we resolve some of the problem that resident has. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. Director English?
Yes, I appreciate why people think the way they do think and how they think that they're going to get on a faster ride on this one. So I understand both sides of this, and I'm financially on both sides of this also. I guess we'll have to go and see what happens.
Thank you, Director English. Director Bastani?
I have only one comment about committee assignment. And I believe the chairs on the committee should be selected based on their merits, academic, and historical experience, which is not being done by this board and this president. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bastani. Director Torn?
Yes, again, I would like to say that VMS needs to come up with alternatives to ensure they're doing a better job, doing a quality job, reducing waste. And instead of following the same procedure that's not best for the community. And if they have any doubt, they need to bring it up to the board and say, we have a problem here, like compliance. We have a problem here with appliances that we cannot satisfy the residents. What are the alternatives? Can we have a direction on that? Okay, that is something that VMS is not doing very well, not for the best interest of the residents, but for the best interest of doing nothing. Okay, and also be honest, provide us the honest measurements. Okay, I've heard that VMS claims that we have 90% completion rate. However, I've also heard that completion, the work request assigned as completion is when it's assigned to the department, not when it's completed, not when it's closed. So the completion rate is just really just assigned rate. We've passed on the buck, and that's called completion. That's something we should not. We should be really honest on this kind of measurement. Otherwise, the measurement doesn't mean anything to us. Okay. So one thing is management needs to come up with alternatives to solve the problem. And when they provide measurement, it has to be very honest. And also, if there's any problem that VMS measures that the same problems are happening over and over again, it's not solving the problem. The current policy is not solving the problem. It should be brought up to the board for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Torn. Moving on. Committee reports. Let's start off with Director Escar giving us a report on the Finance Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Can we have the first slide, please? Through the reporting period of May 31st, 2022, total revenue for United was $19 million compared to expenses of $17.6 million, resulting in $1.4 million net revenue. And can I have next slide, please? In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial result. The resulting fund without depreciation in this page shows an operating surplus of $852,000 through this reporting period. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into operation, with $9.3 million coming out from assessment and $665 coming from non-assessment revenue. Of course, we didn't consider unrealized gain, as we discussed today. This is compared to operating expenditures of $9.1 million without depreciation. Can we have slide 3, please? Thank you. This next chart takes the full income statement and compares those results to budget. We can see that United ended the period better than budget by $2 million when combining both operating and reserve saving. And if we can get a slide 4, which is a bar chart, you can see better that the most significant variances from budget were coming from this category that I go one by one. Outside services is almost $6 million due to timing. Budgets are spread evenly for programs such as building structures and roof replacement, tree maintenance, country tops, and extra. It was a favorable variance, was offset by landscape sharp bed maintenance, which was contracted to outside vendor for a short term as the budget positive. And the next one, next to that, you can see is employee compensation. Employee compensation is come favorable, 772,000, resulting primarily in M&C department and landscape due to open position that we have. And next to that, you can see 278,000, that positive, favorable, by materials and supplies. And this is resulting in several areas of operation, such as interior components, paint, carpentry, and appliances, due to timing of expenditures. And the next one is insurance, 133,000, and favorable variance result due to lower premium for property and casualty insurance upon renewal on 10/1/2021. And after that, we, of course, everybody just, we talk about that today. Unrealized gain, you can see how big it is. Of course, this is by May. By end of May, it was 737,000 down, unfavorable variance due to the adverse condition for bond indexed fund investment during the reporting period. As I mentioned, as we are talking, for the past month was 1 million. That for the next month is going to be bigger, that bar. And the last one you can see is utilities, is about 58,000 unfavorable variance due to less seasonal rainfall that we have. Budget was based on a 5-year average of water consumption. However, seasonal rainfall through the May was 74% lower than 5 years average. Can we have a slide 5, please? And this is pie chart. Easier on eyes, you can see on this pie chart, we show non-assessment revenue earned to date is 721,000, excluding the unrealized loss on available for sale investment. And then if we include unrealized loss on investment, non-assessment revenue is going to be actually negative 16,000. So revenue is organized by category, starting with our largest revenue, generating category fee and charges to residents, you can see, is 39%, followed by laundry 14%, and resale processing fee 10%, lease processing fee 10%, and going to the smallest after that, all the way to miscellaneous revenue for 1%. Can we have a slide 6, please? Thank you so much. On this pie chart, we see the expenses to date is 18 million, showing that our largest category of expenses are for employee compensation. And then property and sale tax, followed by utilities, insurance, outside service, and go on. And you can see on the right side for the prices for the water, trash, electricity, and phone. And the breakout for that. Let's see slide 7, please. On this next slide, we see those same expenses, excluding property and sale tax. And therefore, that's why they shows the employee compensation about 45%. And number 8. Thank you. Our fund balances are shown here. The contingency fund balance on May 31st was 1.1 million. You can see the reserve fund balance on May 31st this year was 19.8 million. Contribution and investment revenue collected total 3.8, while expenditures were 3.1 million. Of course, property tax fund balance on May 31st was negative 77,000. You can see because it's more, and contribution and investment revenue collected total 5.2 million, while expenditures was 5.2 million. And slide 9, of course, yes, this is, we are talking about average. In this one, slide 9, we compare this to historical fund balance for the past 5 years on this chart, which have averaged 20 million. So you can see this year, 2020, that line is there, and we are in the safe place. And slide 10, we have a slide here to show resale history from 2020 to 2022. Through May 31st, United sales total 211, which is 46 resale higher than prior year for the same time period. The average year-to-date resale price for a United Mutual is $332,000, which is 72,000 higher than last year at the same time. And that's good to end up with the good news, this report about resale. And back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Ascari.
President Liberator, there's a speaker who would like to come up, Maxine McIntosh.
Maxine the McIntosh, you have the floor.
Just some clarification, please. On page 7.
Page 7.
On page 7, the expenses excluding sales and property taxes. This purple section, net allocation to mutuals 5%. What does that mean? We are the mutual. This is the part of the United Mutual Financial Report. So what does this mean? There's a net allocation to the mutuals, plural,
Okay.
with an S on it, 5%. If I could just have clarity on that.
Absolutely. As you know, when we collecting, Maxie, a very good question. When collecting the money from residents, all goes to one bank, goes to the GRF.
Yeah.
And GRF pay all the workers and other things. Of course, some of them is our job to pay them. So rather than one by one, they collected at the end of the month, and they said our portion is the X amount of the dollars, and they called net allocation. The same, they send net allocation to the third. So because all monies goes to the GRF, they pay, and we pay our net allocation to
So
them.
that which we share. Thank
Yes,
you.
we're sharing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Director Ascari. And move on to 15B, report of the Architectural Control and Standards Committee. We didn't have a meeting in June. However, we will have a meet this week, and we have some work that Bart Mahi has been into, and we'll be discussing that at the next meeting. Has to do with alterations and asbestos. And also, if you're at home and you're interested in this, join the meeting. And it's going to be on July 21st, 2000 at 9:30 a.m., and it'll be in the boardroom. And that's all I have for this meeting. Now we need a report from the Member Hearings Committee, Director Ardani.
Thank you. The committee met on June 23rd and June 29th. We had actually 2 meetings, and we just, lots of residents coming. The only things that I just want to note it here is that, and I want that if anybody's in the home, they are watching the TV, please keep your final inspection, because in final inspection we have the alteration section, and it's very important. I'm saying that because a lots of residents coming and they got the invoice for water intrusion, for the washing machine leak, and they are just shocked about that invoice. And they didn't know that this is the alteration, and the alteration is the owner responsibility, it's not the mutual responsibility. Please keep every paper that the end of the sales, the escrow give it to you, because you need it. And we had lots of residents coming and say, why not? We heard that the United Mutual take care of everything. So why we should pay that much in our invoice? Because it's the alteration. Please keep the final inspection from Laguna Woods. Thank you.
Thank you, Director
And the
Nardani.
next meeting is going to be July 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Nardani. Good report. And the report on the Governing Documents Committee, Director Blackwell?
Yes, I don't see our minutes in there. We did have a meeting, and we did discuss, the requirements for leasing and for co-occupancy. And we added in a background check, and we added in looking for felony convictions, because the other mutuals have that, and we can do that by law. So we did that. I'm sorry, that's not in here, but it'll be in next week. So we were meeting again on the 21st and 1:30, and I agree with Nida there. Please read your stuff. I just say the second most important document in your whole life are your escrow instructions, that whole escrow package. So read that, and read it this time for sure. I mean, you've got 20 hours or 30 hours or 40 hours to read it. It won't take you that long. And you'll find out all the stuff about asbestos and all the stuff about the alterations and about HO6 insurance. This is everything that Nida is dealing with on that committee every time. And so if you want to be informed, read your own documents. Or you can find the resale package online on the website. But go find your own, because that tells you exactly what you need to know for your unit. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell.
Mr. President, can I ask a question from Director Blackwell?
Director Ascari, go ahead.
Thank you. Director Blackwell, did you talk about, because it was on the agenda, dual membership for United owners, that they can have 2 units, because lots of investors coming and buying right now.
No, they cannot have that. That's one of our regulations. They cannot have that now.
Okay.
No, it's one. It's always been one for United.
I know, but you said you are going to work on that.
We looked at it, but it's very clear that it's one. And so we voted down any change, making any change to the governing documents for that.
Thank you. The report of the Landscape Committee, Director Casey, you have a lot to say on this, I'll bet.
Well, thank goodness not as much as in the past. But yeah, I was in Idaho at that meeting, but I did come online, through Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever it was. And Maggie led the meeting. She did great, and it was a good meeting. And that was on June 9th. And the next meeting is on July 14th, this week. And so I hope we get a good turnout. We've had some great progress because that tree project was canceled. And now they're trimming the trees.
They started.
Yes, they started on my section.
My section too.
Yes, and so maybe this isn't the appropriate time. They should probably do it in the fall, but it's good because they were so overgrown and dying. So it's really good. I'm so happy. And so to comment on NADA too, that, I had a remodel, and so I did have a leak, which they took apart my walls and my ceilings, and it turned out to be a tub I installed upstairs. So I didn't find out until I did an inspection, because I thought I was going to sell, that they were going to bill me for that. So you have to be careful. And then I submitted it to my insurance company, and they covered it. So, with my deductible, but, those things that you do in remodels, in fact, when I had another leak in the wall, if they would have had to go through the bathroom and take down all my tile and all that stuff I put up, I'd be responsible for that. So, you have to consider that your remodels do cost or might be a claim for your insurance.
More money.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Director Casey. Can we have a report from the Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director English?
Could you tell me what page we're on?
We're on page 3 of 4, and we're down on item F.
15F. 15F, as in Frank.
Sorry, I haven't found it yet. Page 3 of 4, right?
Yes, down,
Way at the beginning, way at the beginning.
it's 3 of 4.
Page 1 of 4.
3 of 4.
M&C is one of them.
It's right here, 3 of 4.
Sorry to keep everybody waiting here.
That's okay.
This is the report on the Maintenance and Construction Committee, which is doing very well, and they're getting a lot of work done. They're working on new solar efforts, and also they're also working on the electrical wiring issue and the electrical issue as far as the garbage is concerned. So they're all keeping very busy, and they're going to be having. They had a meeting on June the 22nd. Next meeting is going to be August the 24th at 9:30 in the boardroom as a virtual meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director English. And now I'd like to get a report on the United Resident Advisory Committee. Director Lee, glad to have you back.
Hi, glad to be back. We had a resident advisory meeting at June 9th at 4. There were issues brought up regarding the cul-de-sac 205, and I was just told by the resident who attended the meeting this morning that the work at beautification of the cul-de-sac 205 has started, and she was very, very happy. So next meeting will be July 14th at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Director Lee. Now we'll move on to agenda item 16. That's the GRF Committee highlights. Report of the GRF Finance Committee, Director Ascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the committee met on June 15, 2022, and the only discussion besides the usual update on the finance was security service asked for a supplemental money, about $42,931 for 21 stop sign to change. After debate, finance department refused for the vote, and vote did not pass. However, the problem was this first goes to the board, and board passed this one, and then after board passed, came to the finance, which supposed to be vice versa. First goes to the finance and goes to board. And that brought a little bit conflict. At this point, I don't know, Shivan, do you know this passed or not? Because board passed and finance didn't pass.
Yeah, so it was approved by the board last week.
Oh, back to the board, even finance didn't pass. Okay. So anyway, that's my report for that day. It was lots of debate about that, which they're going to change the stop sign. I have no clue why. There's no reason, but anyway. And then the next meeting is August 17, 2022 at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you, Director Ascari. And let's get a report on the GRF Strategic Planning Committee from Director Casey.
Yes, their last meeting was May 2nd, and the next meeting is to be announced, so I'm not sure when that meeting is going to be.
Okay. All right, let's move on to C, report of the Community Activities Committee from Director Blackwell.
Thank you. Yes, we met on June 9th, and Diane Casey was there, and we discussed the staffing levels in recreation are quite low, and they have only received 3 applications from the residents to help out as in the clubhouses. And so, at least that's what I have. The community center front desk position to allow the table, oh, yes. Only 3 applications, that's it, have been received to date for the community center front desk position to allow the table tennis room to remain open for longer hours. So that would mean someone would have to sit at the front desk here all the time the building is closed upstairs and allow people to go up to play table tennis. But they've got 3 applications, but I guess he wanted more.
They wanted more, sorry, because I know the few people in the residence, they need job. They wanted more?
Well, he said only 3 applications, so if I got, I mean, that's what it says here, but Siobhan.
They've received several more since you got your information, and interviews have been conducted and are still being conducted. So they have a number of applicants.
Do you need more?
Certainly, we encourage anyone interested to apply. It's
Oh.
available on our website.
It's not the volunteer, you paying them?
Correct.
It's a
Part-time,
part-time.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right, there are several positions available with recreation, so if residents, they're all part-time, and if residents want, look on the website, and there are several things, we really do need you, it will help out.
Sorry, one more question, how they can apply?
If you go to the village website, there's a career section at the bottom of the website. Click on that and follow directions for residents, resident employment opportunities.
Okay,
And that's
just fill
updated
it out
regularly.
through the website?
Yes.
Or just print it out, bring it here?
I think you can do both.
Okay, thank you.
Director Blackwell? or you?
Okay, and then we made a change to the garden center operating rules to state that those plants must not exceed 10 feet in height or interfere with the sun in a neighbor's plot. And so we are meeting again on Thursday, that's this Thursday. And so do come to that, it will be exciting, of course. The tennis question is still up for grabs on what kind of reservations they want or none. So that's still under discussion.
Thank you, Director Blackwell.
Okay.
Let's move on to item D, a report of the GRF Landscape Committee. Director Casey.
Oh, well, I was in Idaho, like I said earlier, on the 8th, but Maggie is on the committee.
Right.
Do you remember that landscape meeting?
Yeah, I do. Okay, yes, I was there. And we honored 2 landscape employees who were honored at the Village Management Services, and that was very nice. They're working very hard. The bids for the new master control irrigation system are slightly lower than expected, and that's good news. We'll see if we can find one. And WeatherTrack has committed to hold their prices as long as quoted during the project development, despite the 20% increase in equipment costs. All equipments are costing more now. Mr. Weeman explained the benefits of the new system are numerous, such as in the field control. You don't have to go back to your desk and do anything. Chair Skillman said there are pictures, publications of colored tree maps for those people who are looking for what tree is where. There are tree maps available at the History Center. Let's see. Mr. Weeman stated anything irrigated by the mutual, that would be United, should not be watered by members. So if it's on the sprinkler system, if the mutual waters it above ground or below ground, the members should not be watering that plant at any time. And so that will save us water. There are people that go out and do double duty on our watering. Thank you. We meet September 14th.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. We need a report now from GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director Aquicar.
We have a new building, Building E, in maintenance and construction, to house some of the maintenance people. I hope I'm right when I'm saying this right. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Director Aquicar. And the Clubhouse Facilities Ad Hoc Committee, Director Casey.
Anyway, thank you. Yes, we met, there were a couple of meetings that we had, and one, we were choosing a designer, interior decorator for the beautification of Clubhouse 1 to determine what our standards would be and what kind of a design. So we did make a selection, and then it went to the GRF Finance Committee on June 15th, and so it's moving along. And so their meeting is to be announced. They met June 24th, and the next one is unscheduled.
Thank you, Director Casey. GRF report on the Media and Communications Committee, Director Ardani.
Yeah, I was sick. I think Maggie was there.
I was there.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, we met on June 20th, and we went over the media and communications activities. We have regular publications in the Breeze, the What's Up in the Newsletter Friday, which, by the way, is a very good source to use if your committee or somebody wants to make an announcement. Let me know, and I'll field it through to the What's Up in the Village Friday release. Some things are urgent and some things are just pleasant. Manor Alterations will continue to do their own news bulletin, and they said that 2 emergency alerts went out to all residents for the May shooting, and that was very sad. The broadband group, GRF holds the ownership of the current cable, TV, and internet conduit infrastructure. The infrastructure, such as the ones owned by GRF, require continuous upgrades and service investment. The current system is aging, and it is becoming more difficult to obtain parts and accessories to keep it running. The speed at which streaming content is overtaking cable TV content is accelerating a faster pace than predicted. The Village television programs are also on YouTube, and also past, of course, board meetings and so on are on the YouTube, so residents can watch the YouTube for a lot of things that they don't think about. If you're looking for something, go on there. It's a little confusing to use the first few times, but once you get the hang of it, it has got all kinds of meetings and tapes from everything that goes on to the television. The VMS staff is working closely with our other systems to determine at what point GRF moves away from cable television and into full-time streaming content. And that will be a jolt for me, but for the rest of the world, I'm sure it will be an easy transition. And our next meeting is July 18th at 1:30.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. Report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Blackwell.
Yes, I was at that one too. Okay, let's see. We have, of course, our routes, our fixed route, journey, and boost, and that depends on what time you want to go and what kind of bus you want. The delay of new vehicle deliveries is a result of a worldwide chip shortage the little controlling brain that you put into everything now. The chips are short now, and that might be what is causing maybe ovens, I don't know what else. But so many things are affected by that it's really slow. The staff provided an update on the topic of purchasing used vehicles for cost savings. They will look into whether or not a policy is needed for this and provide an update at the next meeting. Staff will begin fleet right-sizing discussions with department directors. So the department directors will help them determine more accurately what size fleet of vehicles each department needs. So everybody's reviewing that very carefully. We're on future agendas, we have alternative fuel vehicles. So we're looking into electric for something, and we are definitely looking into electric for all the hand tools or the choppers and things that we use for trees and bushes. Those will all be electric plug-in and so on, and that will save us a lot of money. And so we will meet again August 3rd at 1:30.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And can you give us a report on the Community Access Committee?
Yes, I was at that meeting. Okay, and...
Go, girl.
And, yes, and the topics included speeding on Via Mariposa toward Gate 4. Okay, you know you can only exit on Gate 4. That's up the hill onto there. Okay, people get really enthusiastic once they pass the creek or when they get near the creek. They start racing for the uphill climb. And so they're driving really fast along that. They think, oh, we're past and we're on, and they go too fast up the hill. Downhill traffic is not nearly as fast because they're only coming from the cul-de-sacs. But people zoom up that hill, and that is really being considered almost for a stop sign or whatever. They are going to be studying that and getting statistics on that, because the residents nearby have had a lot of close calls. And like I said, you can sit and have a picnic lunch in your car if you want to try and turn onto that street at that point. So that one is being studied. The gate access and entry issues, it's about pedestrians. How do you control pedestrians coming in the gates? And so there are various things there. We could build more walls, more fences, we could do whatever. But they're looking at all kinds of things that might be done. It's tricky. Most people cooperate very well, but some people just zoom on by or hide behind a car. A vehicle access in cul-de-sac 217 is very tough, and that's a very confusing place. So that will be looked at too. The paving project on the RV lot began already, June 29th, so that should be in progress right now. No bicycle signs were put up along Aliso Creek Park. The Gate 1 west side fence extension was discussed. There's a question about the fencing, and people are often contacting us about the fencing everywhere. And the Gate 1 fence is a notorious one, and GRF is looking into it. The whole fencing project is being looked into. I couldn't help but notice that we're not donating any more money to the fencing as far as United is concerned for next year. So it will still only be like 300 feet a year, and that will not complete that area, but it might help if they do it next. Okay, we meet again on August 29th at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Blackwell. And Director Ardani, could you give us a report from GRF Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings?
Sure. Village traffic hearing held on June 15, and the next one will be on July 20. We had 5 cases: parking violation, park obstruction access, failure to obey stop sign, and parked on sidewalk. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ardani. And the report of the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Casey?
Their last meeting was March 29th, and the next meeting is July 26th.
Thank you, Director.
That was a report.
And the report on the Purchasing Task Force?
We didn't have any meeting.
Nothing?
Nothing. No.
Okay, thank you. Report of Information and Technology Advisory Committee, Director Casey.
Yes, so we meet every week, and, now we're in the beginning stages of the implementation of the new software. So it's very exciting, to see it starting up in finance, and I was up, working with Pam Jansen to do the checks, and she was excited with the training works, that she was going on over in the computer to make sure, because they're going to map out what they need in there, so they've got to give that kind of feedback to the consultants, so they turn on all the right switches, so that they can operate. So it was interesting, because my main thing was, like, how do they know when a contract is up? Like they've exceeded the amount of money. So, it's going to be fun to watch that. And they're having, they're going to choose fund accounting as the accounting method. And so they're going to have a workshop presentation on that, which I want to attend. So they meet every week, every Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Casey. And item number M, report of the Insurance Ad Hoc Committee. I'm on that committee, and we had a lengthy presentation by Dan Yost, and his idea we explored the idea of a captive group. And the captive group is an idea that's very similar to your hospitalization and work, where you have a bunch of people get together and you buy group insurance. So this captive group theory is if you get 2 or 3 or 4 or a bunch of companies together to purchase insurance. It's a very interesting concept, but also for residents, we have to, our fiduciary responsibility is to look at all possible avenues for this insurance thing, so that we can come back to the residents and say, we've checked this, we've checked that, and we recommend this. So right now, we don't have another meeting scheduled to be announced, but it's really critical that we pay attention to this, because to me, we have to look at all the aspects so that we know we've done our fiduciary responsibility for the residents. And that's the end of my report. And report of the website AHA committee. And we're working on that, and our next meeting is August 10th. And so my son and daughter-in-law will work up there in the Hollywood thing, so we have the opportunity to tap them for advice if we need it, or some ideas. Anyway, so we'll move on with that. And future agenda items, future agenda items, I don't see anything here. Hmm?
We don't have any list.
Yeah, and so 17 is done, 18, let's see. We will be in recess. It's 12:43, so we'll be in recess until 1:10?
Half an hour?
Huh?
Half an hour?
Yeah, 20.
1:15?
1:15, all right? We'll be in recess till 1:15, and the closed session will resume in the Willow Room. We stand at recess. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Goodbye.